Chapter 1. Do you want to become an immortal? Do you want to go to heaven and earth? Do you want to live forever? Have you ever wanted to live a life like in the movies? Do you want to be a superhero? Do you want to rule the world and be surrounded by goddesses? Wishes Come True Hotline, 1-882-9574. This is a flyer that Xia Yu saw when he entered the elevator. It was printed on ordinary A4 paper and stood alone on the mirror facing him as he entered the elevator. Oh my god, these 6 questions are really good. Are there so many scammers these days? Is anyone fooled by this? Take out your phone and take a photo and post it on your Moments. This scam ad is so FG awesome. Oh shit. No, why is this my phone number? Whose phone number is this? Xia Yu tore off the A4 paper and immediately walked around the entire community. Fortunately, there was only this one piece, so the question was, which friend was playing a prank on him by posting just this one piece in the elevator of his unit? That was not right. If someone was really trying to be funny, they should have posted it somewhere else, not written something like this. Wouldn't it be better to just find a few poles and post a few pieces of paper, and it would work with a needle, etc.? Xia Yu returned home full of questions. As soon as she entered the house, her cell phone rang. She looked at the phone and saw a text message. The key number was hers, with only one sentence on it. Do you want to become an immortal? It's not strange to send a text message from your own number. With the development of technology, there are many ways to do it. The key is who is messing with you? Xia Yu's first reaction was to call back. Just as he thought, the call to his own number was busy. Xia Yu sat on the sofa and lit a cigarette for himself. While turning on the TV, he replied, "Who are you?" Xia Yu is not in a hurry now, because it is obvious who is playing tricks on her. There is no need for the scammer to make such a thing and post it on her doorstep. The other party replied in seconds. Do you want to go to heaven and earth? Oh my god, this isn't going to end yet, tell me who it is? Do you want to live forever? Is this ever going to end? Have you ever wanted to live a life like in the movies? Get out. Do you want to be a superhero? I want to be your mom, get lost. Do you want to rule the world and be surrounded by goddesses? Shit, you have obsessive-compulsive disorder. You have to ask all 6 questions, right? This time there was no immediate reply, but about 2 or 3 seconds later. Yes. Oh my god, it's true, it's fun, anyway, I'm bored, let's see who it is. Now that you've asked all your questions, it's time to tell us who you are, right? I am the breeze. Qing Feng? Where is Minjiu? Could it be a friend I met while playing games? Xia Yu has played countless games, from online games to mobile games. Since college, he has met countless guild friends and basically left contact information with them. But there are at least 8 out of 10 people named Qing Feng or with the word Qing Feng in their names. It's really hard to say who it is. I didn't dare to ask directly, so I asked some questions first. Oh, is there something wrong? Some. Tell me. What's the matter? Do you want to become an immortal? FK. Xia Yu almost jumped up from the sofa. Master. This is definitely a master. I think, what's going on? Are you going to send me a secret manual, or teach me skills through the phone screen? This time the other party didn't ask any further questions, but just sent a link directly. Xia Yu scratched his head, what is this routine? I must open it and take a look, but what if it is a scam or a Trojan link? Forget it, just take a look. Just in case, Xia Yu uninstalled all financial payment-related apps on his phone, including Alipay, WeChat Bank, etc. He clicked on the link and was redirected to a long agreement full of hieroglyphs in seconds. Oh my god, I didn't understand a single word. This must be a very ancient script. This guy is really awesome. Xia Yu flipped through it several times and found that he really didn't understand a single word. He couldn't help but give the other party a thumbs up in his heart. No matter if it was a liar or a friend making a prank, at least he put a lot of effort into it. Never mind, he was too lazy to play anymore and decided to go take a shower. Xia Yu casually clicked exit, but the phone didn't respond. He pressed the home button again, and this time the browser shrunk and exited, but instead of returning to the desktop, 4 big words popped up, contract signed successfully. What the hell? I know fingerprint unlocking, but can I also use fingerprint signing? Oh my god, my hands are naughty, I must be addicted. Xia Yu muttered to himself with a depressed look on his face, and the screen of the phone changed again. System loading 20%. Looking at the rapidly rising percentage on the phone screen, Xia Yu hurried to press the power button. What if after the loading was completed it was some powerful Trojan horse, who knew what it could do? It would not be safe if the software was deleted. Modern people have too much information in their phones. Xia Yu pressed the power button hard, hoping to successfully shut down the phone before the loading was complete. It should be fine to flash the phone tomorrow. Now it was only 70%, and there was no response when he pressed the power button. He watched the percentage reach 100%. Oh! Xia Yu sighed helplessly, threw the phone on the sofa, and decided to take a shower first. But before she could turn around, the phone emitted a strong white light, covering Xia Yu, and then the phone and Xia Yu disappeared in an instant. The whole process was so fast that Xia Yu didn't even have time to say wow. FK. Xia Yu suddenly sat up from the bed. Was he dreaming? Xia Yu patted his face, feeling a little confused. This dream was too real. Xia Yu was a little bit unbelievable. He looked down at himself. His lower body was still covered with the quilt. He looked at his hands. He always felt something was strange. What was wrong? My head was so confused that I habitually reached out to the bedside table, felt around for the cigarette box, took out a cigarette, then took out a lighter, lit it, and took a long puff. Cough. 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 Xia Yu almost choked to death. What the hell is this? He looked down at the cigarette in his hand, then turned back to look at the cigarette box. American legend. American legend, what the hell? Although he never smoked a fixed brand, he always smoked the same dozen or 20 kinds, and they were all domestic flue-cured tobaccos. Foreign blended tobaccos were choking and had no aftertaste. He really didn't like them. Moreover, he had no idea when he bought this cigarette. Xia Yu felt a panic for no reason, and a strong sense of unease swept over her. She took a deep breath and forced herself to calm down. Xia Yu slowly leaned against the head of the bed, took another puff of cigarette, and began to think about what was wrong. Yesterday, after get off work, I ate a bowl of noodles outside and went to the gym to work out. Then I went home and saw that damn flyer when I got into the elevator. Wait, isn't this a dream? But if this is a dream, then how did I get home? Why don't I have any memory of it? I came home from the gym, entered the elevator, and saw the flyer. This was too smooth. I couldn't be a dream. But if it wasn't a dream, according to what happened yesterday, I should have traveled through time. But when I looked at myself in the room, I felt like I was right at home. I've never heard of traveling through time and taking a house with me. What on earth happened? Damn flyers, damn cell phone, damn text messages, oh. Yes, cell phone, where is my cell phone? Oh shit. Another oh shit. There was indeed a cell phone on the bedside table, but it was not the one Xia Yu was familiar with. It was a Nokia slider phone. Yes, it was Nokia 5710. Xia Yu recognized the model of the phone at a glance. His mother used this phone when he was in the 6th grade of elementary school. He especially liked the look of this phone. After he entered junior high school, his mother begged him for the phone. He even boasted about it in class at that time. He used this phone for the entire 3 years of junior high school and only switched to a smartphone when he entered high school. It was too weird. Xia Yu didn't dare to touch the phone. Her brain was already confused, and now it completely crashed. She slapped her head hard, stood up suddenly, took a deep breath to encourage herself, pushed open the bedroom door and walked out. Xia Yu almost said FK again, but this time she held it back. The living room was still the same, and the furniture hadn't changed at all, but all the electrical appliances had returned to the era of Nokia 5710. To be precise, the whole house had returned to that era, because their furniture was mainly made of solid wood and had not been changed since elementary school. I definitely traveled through time, from the age of 25 directly to elementary school or junior high school. What is this? Charlotte's Troubles? My last name is Xia too. FK. This time she really couldn't hold it in. She had been pulling the curtains in the bedroom and wasn't paying attention. When she got to the living room, she found that something was different outside the window. Xia Yu quickly ran to the window and looked outside. I used to live in a residential complex, my home was on the 11th floor, but now I'm on the 3rd floor, and this is not a residential complex. This is obviously a commercial street, with all kinds of shops on the first floor. Directly opposite the first floor is a large horizontal sign with white letters on a blue background saying Zonghua Hair Salon in traditional Chinese characters with English next to it. When I looked again, all the signs I saw were in traditional Chinese characters with English. It looked like it was early in the morning, and not many shops were open. I didn't see many pedestrians passing by, including foreigners. Xia Yu sat on the sofa in a daze. He was sure that he had traveled through time. It was definitely not a dream yesterday. His phone had loaded some system and took him through time. Traveled through time. Chapter 2. After calming down, Xia Yu knew that he should collect more information. He just glanced outside and based on the text, he should be in Chinatown in a certain country. There are only a few places in English. Combined with the box of cigarettes he just had, he should be in the United States. There was too little information to go out. Xia Yu didn't dare to take the phone, feeling a shadow, so how could I get more useful information? After thinking for a long time, Xia Yu suddenly slapped himself. He secretly cursed himself, idiot. He was facing the TV and thinking for a long time, but he didn't know to turn on the TV. Xia Yu was extremely grateful that he had become close friends with several exchange students in college, which helped him improve his English. Otherwise, if he didn't understand the language, he would have been helpless. Xia Yu turned on the TV and it was morning news. After watching for a few minutes, she was sure that she was in the United States, but she didn't know which city yet. While watching the news, which was not very interesting for the time being, Xia Yu was thinking about the various literary works about time travel that she had read, including online time travel novels, as far back as the TV series A Step into the Past that she had watched when she was a child. At this time, a piece of news on TV caught Xia Yu's attention. The new missile developed by Tony Stark has once again successfully won a $2 billion order from the Department of Defense. If this spoken word made Xia Yu dumbfounded, then the images that immediately switched on the TV made Xia Yu's brain crash. Tony Stark? Robert Downey Jr.? Iron Man? Marvel movies? Xia Yu didn't say shit this time. He suddenly remembered the line in A Step into the Past when Louis Koo just traveled through time and saw the Zhao cavalry. Oh, shit. After reading the news, Xia Yu sat on the sofa and thought to herself, remembering the content on the flyer, do you want to become an immortal? Do you want to go to heaven and earth? Do you want to live forever? Have you ever wanted to live a life like in the movies? Do you want to be a superhero? Do you want to rule the world and be surrounded by goddesses? That's not right. Shouldn't this routine be given a gold finger or something? Not to mention becoming an immortal, at least give me some magical skills to protect me. This is Marvel. If I know the plot well, I can avoid a few major disasters, but who knows if there will be any changes. I'm just thinking about it. Suddenly, the sound of electronic synthesis came to my mind. The system and the host have been bound. The host can use it by calling the system in his mind. Xia Yu smiled and said, it will be easy with Goldfinger. System out. Yes, Master, please call me by my full name. Xia Yu was happy, this thing has the same voice as Tumal Genie. What's your full name? Shock the barbarians and see that China has a magical time travel assistance system. Oh my god, it's so long. Isn't your name Qing Feng? I am not Qing Feng, I am here to shock the barbarians and see that China has a magical power time travel assistance system, Master. Can you change your name? Yes, Master. Please help me change my name. Your voice is so much like Tumal Genie, so just call me Tumal Genie, just Tumal. Xia Yu thought to herself, I am helping Mr. Ma to make his name famous in the Marvel world. Okay, Master, Tumal is at your service at any time. Please introduce your function and my current basic situation. Okay, Master. To save your time, I will transmit it to you directly. A lot of memories came flooding back and Xia Yu had a preliminary understanding of the situation. In the Marvel movie universe, only movies, not including TV series, it is located in Chinatown, Manhattan, New York. It is August 2007, half a year after the start of the Iron Man 1 plot. The identity given by the system is Xia Yu, a Chinese American. Both parents died and he grew up with his grandfather. His grandfather is a very good Chinese medicine practitioner, and his acupuncture is superb. Unfortunately, he returned to China last month to visit his relatives and died in China. It can be regarded as a return to his roots. So now the system has set Xia Yu as a homebody with no relatives or friends. Xia Yu strongly suspects that the system did this to save trouble, because the memories transmitted to him are very simple, roughly the appearance and habits of his relatives, in addition to his grandfather's skills in Chinese medicine and acupuncture, and Xia Yu is also given an English level that matches his identity. Although Xia Yu's English is fluent, after all, it is still different from the speaking method of a Native American. The main function of the system is to assist Xia Yu in becoming a superhero in Marvel. The main method is to set several behaviors for Xia Yu to gain points, and use the points to redeem martial arts, physical fitness, etc. Tasks will also be randomly issued according to needs. There will be rewards for completing the tasks, and points will be deducted for failure. In addition, a novice gift package was given, including a 20 cubic meter space storage ring, special forces physical fitness, combat proficiency, proficient in firearms, and more. Since Xia Yu has played a lot of games, the system also thoughtfully provides a small map that can be displayed directly in Xia Yu's line of sight. The angle can be adjusted, zoomed in and out, and the enemy's position can be seen in combat mode. It's that Tmul. Can I go back then? Xia Yu suddenly asked a little sadly. You have no relatives or close friends, why would you go back? Listening to Tmul speaking these words in an electronic voice, Xia Yu felt as if he had been insulted by AI. But thinking back, it really didn't matter. There was not much difference between him and the two worlds, except that his parents in that world died when he was 18 years old. Since I've come to this world, let me live a wonderful life. It wouldn't be bad to be a superhero. Xia Yu said to himself like a vow. Tmul, how do we start? With my current abilities, I'm definitely very powerful among ordinary people, but this is Marvel, and we'll have to deal with Thanos in the future. Don't worry, Master. I will arrange for you to become stronger step by step. First, we need to integrate into your current life and reopen the studio left by your grandfather. I want to be a superhero, how come I become an old Chinese doctor? The difference is too big. Xia Yu refused to do it. Don't worry, Master. In the early stage, you need to follow the arranged steps. When you are stronger, there will be fewer restrictions. Just be a Chinese medicine practitioner and you will have surprises. Okay, I really don't know what to do. Superhero starts with traditional Chinese medicine. This building in Chinatown is Xia Yu's family's private property, and it is also the savings of his grandfather's lifelong struggle in the United States. It has 3 floors in total. The first floor used to be his grandfather's clinic, the second floor was his parents' wedding room, and the third floor was where his grandfather lived. His parents died in a car accident shortly after giving birth to him. His grandfather was afraid that the sight of the things would remind him of them, so he rented out the first floor to open a pharmacy, and turned the second floor into his own studio. He rarely sees patients, but takes on some healthcare and conditioning jobs, charging very high fees, but over the years he has become quite famous in Manhattan. He originally wanted to live on the rent of the first floor and spend more time taking care of his grandson, but he didn't expect to develop a high-end business and receive 3 or 4 clients a week, which has increased his income a lot. So Xia Yu is considered a rich second generation who has money, a house, and can collect rent. Xia Yu followed Tmul's advice and went downstairs to open the business. The downstairs was decorated very elegantly, with a lot of Chinese-style items, tea tables, antique shelves, mahogany sofas. This was the reception area at the entrance, and there was a physiotherapy room next to it, a toilet and a storage room. The storage room contained a large amount of medicinal liquor, cupping jars and other Chinese medicine health and physiotherapy equipment. This studio left by his grandfather doesn't have many customers, and an appointment is required every time, so there are basically no people around. Xia Yu ran to the tea table and sat down. Seeing the various teas on the antique shelf next to him, he was sincerely happy. Although he is not very old, he has been influenced by his father, the father in the original world, since he was a child. He has been making tea and drinking tea with his father since junior high school. He couldn't help but secretly admire the system's thoughtfulness. As a result, after sitting there for a whole day, drinking 3 or 4 pots of tea, and ordering takeout twice, not a single customer came. Xia Yu, anxious to be a hero, asked Tmul again and again, but was always told to just wait for a surprise. It was getting dark, and there was no time for dinner. No one had made a reservation, and there were no surprises. Xia Yu planned to go out for a walk, have dinner, and then take a good look at this city where heaven and hell coexisted. As soon as I got up, someone knocked on the door. I opened it and saw a surprise. Chapter 3. Xia Yu secretly laughed at the familiar outfit of the man at the door, black windbreaker, combat boots, bald head and one-eyed man, the connecting figure of the Avengers Alliance, S.H.I.E.L.D. Director Nick Fury. "Hello, is there anything I can help you with?" Xia Yu asked politely without changing his expression. "Hello, I'm here to see my health doctor, he is a magical old oriental man. You should be his grandson, right?" Nick Fury glanced around the room and asked. "Yes, sir. If you are here to see my grandfather, I'm afraid you will be disappointed. He passed away when he returned home last month. If you need anything, I can help you, but you need to make an appointment in advance." "What?" Nick Fury was shocked, and then a trace of sadness appeared on his face. He then said to Xia Yu, "I'm very sorry, kid, I didn't know he had passed away. My work has put a lot of strain on my brain and body. For many years, I have come here from time to time to receive treatment from your grandfather. He often invites me to drink tea and chat. This is the place where I relax the most. I mean, he is a good doctor and a good person. He is my friend. Can I come in and sit for a while? Thank you for your compliment. My grandfather will be very happy if he knows this. Please come in." Xia Yu took the opportunity to let Nick Fury in. Nick Fury came in with a nostalgic look on his face. It was obvious that he was very familiar with this place. He turned around and walked straight to the tea table and sat down. "Every time your grandfather treated me, he always offered me tea. Young man, do you know how to make tea like your grandfather?" Nick Fury said as he made a gesture of pouring tea. "As you wish, sir." Xia Yu sat down and started to boil water to wash the cups. In his heart, he was very impressed with the arrangement of the system. He let himself and the S.H.I.E.L.D. director meet in this way. There was also a favor from his grandfather. This was very good and powerful. Looking at Nick Fury sitting there casually and watching him make tea, Xia Yu couldn't help but ask the system, "Tmul, this is the S.H.I.E.L.D. director. Although he is a friend of my grandfather, it seems that he is too unguarded to me when we meet for the first time. The master has a hidden favorability bonus for positive characters in the plot. This is also to prepare the master to join the Avengers smoothly in the future. Well, being able to make the characters in the story like me more is another kind of luck for the protagonist." Nick Fury watched Xia Yu pour water to wash the tea and brew tea smoothly, his eyes lit up, and said, "To be honest, I don't really like drinking tea, but I like watching your grandfather brew tea. It always makes me feel very quiet and comfortable, so it doesn't matter what I drink. I'm glad to see this feeling in you, you're great, boy." Xia Yu smiled when he heard this, "You will get used to it the more you do it. Kung Fu tea is originally half for drinking tea and the other half for meditation. The feeling is more important than the taste. For example, if you want to go fishing, enjoying the fishing process is definitely more important than the fish itself, isn't it?" "Haha, that's what I mean. What's your name, young man?" "My name is Xia Yu, sir. I won't go into the differences between Eastern and Western names here, just be more natural in the future, otherwise it will be awkward." "Hello, Xia Yu, my name is Nick Fury, you can call me Nick. You just said that I can come to you if I need anything. I mean, have you also learned your grandfather's medical skills? For example, that amazing acupuncture technique." "That's called acupuncture, sir. I learned it from my grandfather since I was a child. It depends on your physical condition or what you need to decide whether to use it. I told you to call me Nick. That's what your grandpa calls me. Every time I came here, your grandpa would use needles to treat my headaches. After each treatment, I could sleep comfortably for a few hours. I swear I have never slept so peacefully before. Can you help me? Just like your grandpa did." "Definitely no problem, but I told you you need to make an appointment, sir." "Damn it, call me Nick. I'm very busy at work, and your grandfather never asked me to make an appointment. Dear Xia, can you just watch a kind and gentle old man suffer from insomnia and headaches? He is also your grandfather's friend." Looking at Nick Fury gesticulating with his hands and shouting, Xia Yu rolled her eyes and thought to herself, "Your look has nothing to do with kindness and gentleness, okay? Okay, Nick, come with me, I'll give you acupuncture for my dead grandfather's sake." Xia Yu said as he stood up and took Nick Fury to the physical therapy room. Acupuncture had been learned with the help of the system a long time ago. The system also explained clearly how his grandfather had done acupuncture for him. Xia Yu did as his grandfather had done before and lit a plate of sandalwood. Nick Fury had already laid down naturally. After Xia Yu gave him a slight massage on several acupuncture points on his head, he skillfully picked up a silver needle and inserted it. After a treatment, Xia Yu picked up another silver needle and easily made Nick Fury fall asleep. The so-called good sleep was something Grandpa Xia Yu had deliberately done in the past. For patients like Nick Fury who do not get enough rest and are overworked for a long time, the best treatment is actually to have a good rest. Drinking tea and chatting with him is also a kind of spiritual relaxation. Looking at Nick Fury sleeping in front of her, Xia Yu felt a sense of unreality again. The character in the movie was lying in front of her, and he was the famous S.H.I.E.L.D. director. In fact, if it was Black Widow or Scarlet Witch, Xia Yu would definitely be happier. She shook her head vigorously, telling herself that all this was real. Xia Yu opened the door and walked out. Ding! Congratulations to the master for helping the important character Nick Fury to be successfully treated. You will be rewarded with 30 points and the system will draw a lottery. The points mall is open. Xia Yu was ecstatic. Here I come with my invincible magic skill. Open the points mall. A virtual screen appeared in front of Xia Yu, with an interface similar to that of a game mall on it. It was filled with all kinds of martial arts, including those he had heard of and those he had not heard of since he was a child, such as the familiar ones such as the 18 Dragon Subduing Palms, Yi Jinjing, 9 Yang Divine Art, 10,000 Swords Return to the Origin, etc. When he saw the prices again, Xia Yu almost cursed, because even the cheapest basic boxing method, Taijia Chongchuan, required 100 points. Tmul, come out. I'm here, master. Tell me what these 30 points are for. Even a copy of Taijia Chongchuan, which is so popular everywhere, costs 100 points. Master, don't be anxious. This is just the beginning. There are still many opportunities to earn points. Take your time. Then why do you put so many things in the points mall now? It's very uncomfortable to see but not touch them, don't you know? This is to give the master more motivation to earn points, so that he can quickly master his magic skills and become famous in the Marvel world. Besides, isn't there a chance to win a prize prepared for the master? Xia Yu listened to Tian Mao's synthesized electronic voice speaking a lot of words word by word with great awkwardness, and asked, what can I win in the lottery? Let me see. As soon as he finished speaking, a round turntable appeared in front of him, with 8 prizes on it, namely Lingbo Weiabu, Lingbo Weiabu, Lingbo. Chapter 4. Tumul. Xia Yu was anxious and shouted out. I'm here, master. What's going on? Why are all 8 options the same? Is there a bug? Explain it to me. Although Lingbo Weiabu is very tempting, there are 8 options, what if there is something more powerful? So Xia Yu was very angry. That's right, master. At this stage, the most suitable move for you is Lingbo Weiabu. Combined with your physical fitness as a special forces soldier, you can go to the streets and do justice more safely. Earn points. Xia Yu thought about it and it was true. This was New York, USA, and many thugs on the street had guns. With his current physical condition, he was definitely not afraid of fighting thugs at close range, but it would be dangerous if he used a gun, and he would inevitably be hit. Lingbo Weiabu was definitely the king of steps. Xia Yu could imagine himself moving gracefully in the hail of bullets, leaving a string of ruthless misses behind him. Having said that, the 8 prizes in the lucky draw are all the same, which is really annoying. Then why don't you just give me Lingbo Weiabu? Why do you have to set up a lottery system? You even made a big wheel with the same 8 prizes. You're crazy. This is to add a little bit of fun to the owner's boring life and the process of becoming stronger. Statistics show that the fun brought by the lottery is far greater than that obtained directly. Tumul continued to jump word by word. FKU, 8 awards are equally fun. Xia Yu felt that sooner or later she would be PD off by this system, especially that electronic voice. When you quarrel with it, it feels like you are swearing at Siri on your phone. You feel like a fool. But when you see the price of Lingbo Weiabu in the points mall, which is as high as 10,000, you feel a lot more balanced. Let the lottery begin. Then the turntable appeared again in front of him, and the pointer began to spin. Master, you said stop, so I stopped. I wish you win the grand prize. Xia Yu gritted her teeth at the electronic sound and said weakly, stop. Congratulations on obtaining Lingbo Weibu, would you like to equip it directly? Just equip it. At this moment, the great master Xia, who had learned the Lingbo Weibu, felt no waves in his heart, and no joy at all. It was completely dark when Nick Fury woke up. He came out and looked at Xia Yu, who was sitting there in a daze with a sad face. He thought Xia Yu was missing his deceased grandfather and didn't care. He exclaimed, Xia, I have to say that your skills are not worse than your grandfather's. The effect is very good. Thank you. This sounded so awkward. Xia Yu rolled her eyes and pointed at the coffee table and said, I just went downstairs to eat and brought you a bowl of porridge. You didn't eat, did you? Xia Yu was not flattering. He had a good impression of the characters in the plot. As long as they were not on the opposite side, they would have a good impression of Xia Yu. Bringing a bowl of porridge was purely a habitual etiquette of the Chinese people. He just looked at the records on the computer. Nick Fury did come for treatment from time to time, and he paid a year's fee at a time. His grandfather also gave him a 20% discount. It seems that they do have a good relationship. Nick Fury didn't hesitate to finish a bowl of porridge, thanked Xia Yu and left. It was not yet 8 o'clock, and Xia Yu planned to go out to see a movie, or check out the bars here. It would be even better if she could meet a big blonde with a perky butt. Xia Yu suddenly thought of Tony Stark's record of sleeping with all the girls on magazine covers, and wondered if she could find a way to get to him sooner. Regardless of whether she is a beauty or not, the plot of Iron Man 1 will begin soon, and I will definitely need to participate in it. I was thinking about all kinds of things in my mind, when suddenly there was a ding sound in my mind, and an exclamation mark appeared in the lower right corner of my field of vision. After clicking it, a rectangular border appeared in front of me. Mission. Hey! This is a good way to assign tasks. It saves me from having to listen to the system voice repeating word by word for a long time. Mission: the birth of a superhero requires not only powerful abilities, but also a fighting heart and extraordinary fighting awareness. Stop 100 criminal activities in New York City within 30 days. Each crime will be rewarded with 5 to 1,000 points depending on the crime size. 3,000 points will be rewarded for completing the mission. The system will draw a lottery once. 3,000 points will be deducted for mission failure. Go and fight, to become a hero and let the gangsters in New York City know the power of Chinese Kung Fu. Go, Pikachu! Xia Yu's teeth were almost bleeding. What kind of language was this? Where did she learn this? Tumul. Tumul. Yes, master. Do you have any superhero costumes for sale? I can't just go out like that. Yes, master. You don't need points to buy it. Here is a set of martial arts suits. To make it easier for you to fight crime anytime and anywhere, you can also change clothes with one click in the storage ring. Why didn't you tell me earlier? So you won't give it to me if I don't ask? Xia Yu was too lazy to reason with Tumul and complained secretly. Let me see it. Forget it. Just put it on for me and let me see it. Yes, master. As soon as he finished speaking, Yu's clothes changed instantly, turning into ancient grassland costumes, with a fur vest over the clothes and a bow and quiver on his back. In the legend of the Condor heroes, the costume worn by Guojing when he first entered the martial arts world is a classic. Anything else? Some beggar's sackcloth full of patches. The clothing worn by Xiaofeng when he was the leader of the beggars sect symbolizes the heroic spirit of Xiaofeng throughout his life. Is there anyone more normal? The sword is awe-inspiring, the white clothes are as white as snow, the swordsman Ximen chugs you. Change. The sun rises in the east, and I am invincible. Ah. 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 Stop. This is New York in 2007, is there anything normal? In order to let the master show Chinese martial arts in this world, I'm wearing all the costumes of heroes from novels. Doesn't the master like it? This isn't a question of like or dislike, okay? This is, oh, forget it, can I design it myself? Yes, master, but it must have Chinese martial arts characteristics. Xia Yu was in a dilemma. There was no suitable one. How about the nightgown in the TV series? It seemed too vulgar. After thinking for a long time, Xia Yu suddenly slapped himself hard. Thanos was wearing a battlesuit. What was so exaggerated? After playing so many games, why not just choose one? It was related to martial arts, so it was better to have a higher safety factor. The good thing about having a system is that any idea can appear in my mind as soon as it appears. Otherwise, it would be hard to describe it, and I can't draw. As Xia Yu recalled and imagined, a set of black close-fitting armor of the King Yun sect in the Jianwang 3 game appeared on him. At 1.83 meters tall, with a slender and fit body and a black armor, Xia Yu slowly nodded and secretly gave herself a thumbs up. She decided to go all out and be coquettish. She took out her hair tie again, just fixed her medium-length hair, and hung a long white fake ponytail at the back. Add a black mask, and it's done. I switched clothes back and forth several times, experienced instant dressing several times, and practiced a cold and murderous look in front of the mirror while wearing the King Yun suit. My superhero career is about to begin. Let's go. Oh, change your clothes before going out. Chapter 5. Manhattan is the most prosperous area in the world, without a doubt. It is the smallest district in New York and also the most densely populated district. This small place has many landmarks that are well known all over the world, such as Wall Street, the Empire State Building, Broadway, Times Square, etc., and definitely there are Chinatowns all over the world. Chinatown is located in the lower Manhattan area. Brooklyn is just across the Manhattan Bridge, and Queens is a little further north. Xia Yu decided to start his superhero career in Brooklyn and Queens, mainly because it would be easy to expose his identity if he lived too close to home. It would be better to keep a low profile as he was not strong enough for the time being. It would be troublesome if he was followed by someone. Brooklyn and Queens are not too far away, but there is a river between them. If he really was followed by someone, it would be more convenient to take a detour. Xia Yu first came to Brooklyn, because the neighborhood hero in Queens is still a kid. The story time of Marvel's movies is basically based on the display time, except that Captain America is set during World War II, and the opening of Avengers Alliance 4 is also in normal time, but later it was delayed for 5 years. Spider-Man appeared in Captain America 3, which was released in 2016. At that time, Peter Parker was only 13 years old. Xia Yu traveled through time in August 2007, so little Spider-Man was only 4 years old and couldn't run well. Let's go to Brooklyn and see Captain America's hometown. Xia Yu opened the battle mode mini-map and strolled on the streets of Brooklyn, looking at the girls while checking the alleys on both sides to see if it would be the one where he was beaten in the Captain America movie. The small map is very convenient. In combat mode, as long as a crime occurs within 1 kilometer, the criminal will be marked with a red dot on the map, so now Xia Yu only needs to stroll around with the radar. Xia Yu was anxious to try his skills. After walking for a long time, he finally saw a red dot on the map. It was not far away, just in a small alley in front. Xia Yu hurried over and activated the one-click clothing change the moment he entered the alley. He was wearing a black armor, headdress, and mask from the King Yun sect of Jianwang 3. Under the dim light, he looked a little mysterious and majestic. In the alley, a low-class street drug dealer was trading drugs with someone. The guy who was buying drugs was probably addicted to drugs. As soon as he received a bag of white powder, he squatted on the ground and started to take drugs impatiently. He didn't even react when Xia Yu came in. But the drug dealer reacted quickly. When he heard the footsteps, he immediately pulled out his gun and pointed it at Xia Yu. "Who are you? Oh, your clothes are really nice. Did you just come from a party? What are you going to do?" The drug dealer saw Xia Yu clearly and asked in surprise. From Xia Yu's experience, as a civilian who grew up in a peaceful environment and has only been working for a few years after graduation, the first time someone pointed a gun at him, Xia Yu was shamelessly confused. He was really confused. He forgot all about the physical fitness of a special forces soldier, his proficiency in fighting techniques, his light steps, and his superhero. He went in with full confidence and wanted to teach robbers and car thieves a lesson. Unexpectedly, from the moment someone pulled out a gun and pointed it at him, he could not move at all. He didn't even hear the drug dealer talking to him. "Hey, man, didn't you hear me asking you a question? Get out of my way right now, or I'll shoot you," the drug dealer warned again. Xia Yu still had no reaction, his mind was blank. But from the perspective of a drug dealer, he was selling drugs late at night, and suddenly a guy in armor came in. He looked very tough, pointed a gun at him and asked him questions, but he didn't say anything and just looked at him coldly. This is either stealing territory or black robbing black. Brother, if you don't say anything I will really shoot. After the drug dealer said this, Xia Yu actually slowly sobered up a little, but he didn't have time to react. Bang! The drug dealer fired without hesitation, and this shot was aimed directly at Xia Yu's head. At the moment the drug dealer opened fire, Xia Yu moved suddenly, dodged the drug dealer's shooting with a side step, then turned around, crossed a distance of about 10 meters like flowing water, and came in front of the drug dealer. At this time, the drug dealer just reacted and fired a second shot. Xia Yu took a step to the right front, turned his body and came behind the drug dealer. As the second gunshot rang out, Xia Yu's right hand had already chopped down fiercely below the drug dealer's cerebellum. Bang! The drug dealer fell to the ground. The whole process takes less than 3 seconds at most. Hey! Xia Yu let out a long breath and felt his back was soaked. It was purely an instinctive reaction of the body when danger came. It was just like when you were watching TV and someone suddenly slapped your hand with a knife. Regardless of whether you were hit or not, you would subconsciously dodge. But if you were a trained person, your instinctive reaction might be to fight back directly. Therefore, for many people who practice martial arts, long-term practice is not just about exercising the body, it is about turning every move into muscle instinct. What Xia Yu just showed is this instinct, the instinct of light footwork and fighting proficiency. The loading of the system is not just for you to learn. Congratulations to the owner for catching a drug dealer. You will be rewarded with 20 points. Chmul's voice sounded. It was only 20 minutes. He was a drug dealer with a gun. I was almost shot to death by him. It was only 20 minutes. Xia Yu was a little angry. While speaking, he looked at the unconscious drug dealer with lingering fear. He's just a small drug dealer selling drugs on the street. Moreover, a gun poses no threat to the master's graceful steps. This kind of street crime is just for the master to practice. I hope the master can adapt to it as soon as possible. Chmul still said without any tone. Xia Yu had actually realized that having few points was inevitable, and he was given the Lingbo Weibu in advance, apparently just to let him practice. In an instant, Xia Yu understood two things. The first was his own mentality. He suddenly traveled to a movie world and was given such a big gold finger right away. He felt like he was playing a game. The second reason is that this is a movie world, and the stories in the movies are too high-end, such as Iron Man, Captain America, S.H.I.E.L.D. Hydra, and alien invasions. The stories I used to watch were all about saving the world, and I was too immersed in the perspective of the protagonist, and I looked down on the little people. In fact, there is nothing wrong with this. It's just like in some movies, TV shows or novels we watch, in which the protagonists only come into contact with princes and emperors, and at the very least, they are princes and high-ranking officials in the 6 ministries. If a county magistrate suddenly appears, the readers will look down on him. In fact, think about it from another perspective. Nowadays, the so-called prefects and county magistrates are the top leaders of the counties or prefecture-level cities. We ordinary people don't even see such people on a daily basis. This is the mentality of Xia Yu's current readers, or the gaming mentality. All of this was shattered by the drug dealer's pistol just now. Everything in the movie was reality to Xia Yu. If it weren't for the skills given by the system, a street drug dealer with a small pistol could kill her without her knowing how. Thinking of the crisis she would face in the future, Xia Yu adjusted her mindset for the first time. Xia Yu reacted calmly and collected. After asking the system and knowing that the police would be here soon to deal with the situation, Xia Yu put the drug dealer's pistol and the cash on his body into the storage ring. He ignored the drug addict lying on the ground drooling, and started the light footsteps, quickly disappearing into the darkness on the other side of the alley. Chapter 6. Xia Yu spent the whole night on the streets of Brooklyn, stealing cars, robbing convenience stores, and even harassing girls. Xia Yu completed 10 small anti-crime tasks, 6 of which involved crimes with guns. However, Xia Yu did not give the other party any chance this time. He would change his clothes from a distance and walk over directly. The other party would often fall unconscious before they could react. I took a look at my score, 160. Then I looked at myself. I had the physical fitness of a special forces soldier and was proficient in various skills, plus the Lingbo Weibu. I didn't need the cheap ones, and I couldn't afford the expensive ones. I should just keep leveling up and getting equipment. On the first day of traveling through time, Xia Yu was out working most of the night. He slept until noon, ran downstairs to eat a not very authentic spicy hot pot, comforted himself, and then went back to be a health-preserving Chinese medicine practitioner. He met Nick Fury on the first day. God knows how many more characters he will meet. This entry point arranged by the system is very good and should not be wasted. I received 2 appointment calls in the afternoon. Since there were not many people, I arranged them right away. How could Xia Yu's grandfather in this world leave a building for others in Manhattan, where every inch of land is valuable? All the people who came were elites from Wall Street. They were a little skeptical about Xia Yu's technology at first, but after trying it, they all praised his technology. After all, the products produced by the system must be high quality. The interesting thing is that these 2 blonde-haired and blue-eyed foreigners came over, one doing cupping and the other doing scraping. Xia Yu had a sense of déjà vu as if he was doing blind massaging in China. However, the system actually rewarded each of them with 5 points, which made Xia Yu want to go out and sell his products. Even if it was low-end, money was not important. Now Xia Yu still had millions of dollars left by his grandfather in his account, not to mention a 3-story building. Xia Yu just wanted to earn more points to become stronger sooner, but after thinking about it, he gave up because the time cost was too high. Now it seems that every step of the system is to help Xia Yu grow slowly, including the identity and customer resources left by his grandfather. Don't miss them just to earn some points. He also gave Nick Fury a Lingbo Weibo for treatment, which is a life-saving thing now. Because of Xia Yu's change in mentality, Xia Yu completed the system's tasks in just over 10 days. Each mission was basically petty theft and street thugs, and he never encountered a large-scale crime. Xia Yu felt that he did not have the luck like the protagonist to get into trouble wherever he went, or the system did it deliberately in order to train him in stages, because every time there was a crime, the system would mark it. Xia Yu asked Tmul about this question, but Tmul said nothing. Xia Yu had no choice but to speed up the task progress in order to become stronger as soon as possible. Fighting crime 100 times in more than 10 days, even though the crime rate in New York is high, we have to say that Xia Yu is very diligent. The result is that Xia Yu is now very calm when facing 1 or 2 guns. He is so familiar with Brooklyn that he has the map in his mind and has been to every street and alley. As the task was completed as prompted, Xia Yu returned home today and it was less than midnight, but her points had already reached 4,060. The 3,000 points as a reward for completing the task made Xia Yu very happy. She could finally get some powerful martial arts. But what she was most looking forward to was the lottery. Although the prizes were all the same, at least she was sure to win, right? After spinning the lucky draw wheel with Yi Jinjing written on all 8 prizes in a very annoying way, Xia Yu woodenly clicked the stop button and loaded the Yi Jinjing learning content into Tmul's grand prize blessing, which was silent but full of joyful words. The system's introduction to Yi Jinjing is as follows: the Shaolin Temple does not pass on any unique martial arts skills, but it can cleanse the marrow and strengthen the meridians, improve one's martial arts aptitude, strengthen one's muscles and bones, and transcend the limits of the human body. Cleansing bone marrow, increasing hematopoietic function, increasing the strength of bone fascia, increasing the strength of meridians and expanding the width of tendons. In essence, Yi Jinjing is not a martial art, but a method of life evolution. Yi Jinjing is divided into 12 pictures, starting with physical training, slowly changing the body from the outside to the inside, strengthening the flesh. Therefore, this loading is different from Lingbo Weibo. The loading process of Yi Jinjing is extremely painful. Xia Yu, who was unprepared, was happily waiting for the completion. Suddenly, a muscle-tearing pain swept through his body, and then to the bone fascia, meridians, and bone marrow. It hurts. It hurts so much that Xia Yu bangs his head against the ground repeatedly. Itch. It was like an itch coming from the depths of her soul, which she couldn't scratch or reach. Xia Yu gritted her teeth tightly, feeling like she was about to break them alive, but she finally stopped. Xia Yu was like a rotten doll that had been stepped on countless times in a mud puddle. A large amount of impurities and blood in his body were discharged along with his sweat and mixed with the clothes he had accidentally torn into pieces. It was only after a very long time that Xia Yu uttered a weak swear word. Tmul, give me an explanation why this time is different from last time. Xia Yu felt that the voices in her head were weak. Master, practicing Yi Jinjing can take more than 10 years at the fastest and several decades at the slowest. Now, it is definitely a bit painful to condense decades of changes in the body inside and outside into 5 minutes. Is this a bit painful? Could you please tell me first next time? Okay, Master, but I suggest you wash yourself first. Although I don't have a nose, I think the smell on you is not much better than excrement. Get lost. I don't even need your words. After recovering and taking a shower, Xia Yu felt like all the skin on her body was about to be rubbed off. She used soap and shower gel countless times before she felt a little better. How can I describe the feeling of practicing Yi Jinjing? It's like recovering from a bad cold. Everything becomes clearer now, not only the five senses, but the entire body state is completely different, as if the gravity has been reduced. Anyway, the whole person feels indescribably relaxed. After tidying up everything, Xia Yu sat happily on the sofa, lit a cigarette, opened the points mall and started looking around. He still had several thousand points to redeem. The mall was so messy and full of things that Xia Yu felt his eyes were dizzy. Although he didn't want to listen to the synthesis sound, he had no choice but to ask the system for help. Tmul, look at my current points, what should I do? Can't we sell some magical weapons and armor in the mall? Xia Yu asked. Okay, Master. Tianmao replied word by word, now Master has practiced Yi Jinjing and Ling Bo Wei Buletin. The foundation is good and the footwork is also available. Now it is best to choose a better internal energy book. As for moves, Master's current mastery of fighting technique is enough. As for weapons, they will appear later. There are too many things here, can you recommend one? Xia Yu said. 9 Yang Magic Skill. In the novel, this magical skill was divided into 3 parts and formed 2 schools, Yimei and Wudang. This shows how powerful this internal skill is. The original book describes the 9 Yang magic skill as follows: after mastering the magic skill, the internal force grows at an incredibly fast speed, endlessly, and ordinary punches and kicks can also exert great attack power, the defense is unmatched, and the automatic body protection function rebounds external force attacks. The practitioner's light skill is better than all the exquisite light skills masters in the world, it is also a healing scripture, immune to all poisons, and specifically overcomes all cold and negative internal forces. The 9 Yang magic skill integrates the ultimate principles of martial arts, and after mastering it, all martial arts in the world can be used. Except for the fact that it has no special moves, it is simply an all-powerful internal skill. It can restore mana and health very quickly, and it also increases the attack power of normal attacks, as well as agility and defense. As expected, the system arranges the best for Xia Yu step by step. It's just that the price is a bit high. 4,000 points, Xia Yu only has 60 points left after redeeming them, which is like going back to the time before liberation. Xia Yu's meridians were now all opened up, and the 9 Yang divine art loaded effortlessly. It soon began to run automatically in Xia Yu's body. Xia Yu tried to meditate and practice internal energy, and then he knew why the 9 Yang divine art was so omnipotent. The ordinary internal energy method was to generate internal energy and store it in the danshan. When it was used, it would run out from the meridians, and it would strengthen the function of the part where it ran, such as vision, lightness skill, strength of the hands and so on. The 9 Yang divine art not only has internal force in the danshan, but also in all the major acupuncture points throughout the body. It also runs automatically. It is equivalent to a large warehouse and small warehouses throughout the body, which are constantly in production circulation. How can it not be amazing? The system told Xia Yu that the 9 Yang divine power was capable of operating autonomously, and the system would help him maximize the daily increase in power. This was also one of the system's auxiliary functions. Xia Yu did not need to practice specifically, and could just focus on doing his current job as a neighborhood hero. The new mission would be released in 3 days, so he could just focus on being an old Chinese doctor for the next few days and adapt to the changes in his physical strength. Chapter 7. After resting for 2 days and adapting his body and the operation of internal energy, Xia Yu discovered another benefit of internal energy, which is that his senses have become stronger than before. As long as someone is staring at him from behind, he will feel something. He doesn't know how to describe this feeling, but you will know if someone is staring at you. For example, now, Xia Yu was having lunch at a hot pot restaurant in Chinatown. The cashier girl at the counter had been staring at her for a long time. After Xia Yu finished eating, she stood up and looked at the girl's hurriedly avoiding eyes. Xia Yu pretended not to know, went over to pay the bill, gave her a charming smile, and turned and left. Xia Yu knew without looking back that the girl was still looking at him. He straightened his body unconsciously and added a BGM to himself silently. Did he feel like he was walking with the wind? Xiao Xia, come here. Xia Yu's inner BGM was interrupted by a middle-aged man at the door of the pharmacy. A middle-aged man in a tang suit, with a square face and a clean temperament, was smiling and waving at Xia Yu. "What's wrong, Uncle Wang?" The man was the tenant of Xia Yu's house, who ran a pharmacy on the first floor. It was his father who rented this place from Xia Yu's grandfather. He had inherited his father's business and had lived and worked in Chinatown for 2 generations. They had been neighbors for decades. Xia Yu walked over and answered with a smile. "I heard that you upstairs have started again. I've heard from your grandfather a long time ago that you are better than him. You are amazing. You are so young, but you can inherit your grandfather's mantle. I followed your grandfather for half a year and didn't even recognize all the acupoints." Uncle Wang praised him a lot. "Uncle Wang, you are too kind. I have seen a lot since I was a child and I have learned a little bit. This is just to fool the foreigners. Uncle, if you have anything to say, just tell me." Xia Yu said modestly. "You kid, you are so humble in front of Uncle Wang. It's like this, haven't you already started on this? If another customer comes, can you prescribe some oral Chinese patent medicine for him to take care of your uncle's business?" Uncle Wang had something to ask for, and his smile became even sweeter. Xia Yu understood what was going on as soon as he heard it. Chinatown is a small society in itself, with all kinds of things in it, basically meeting all the needs of life. However, in recent years, many young people have gone out to work, and they usually choose to go to outside hospitals for any major or minor illnesses. The pharmacy business is not as good as in previous years. Xia Yu's grandfather often recommended people to go to the pharmacy downstairs to buy some health-preserving and fire-removing Chinese medicine after recuperation. They are definitely Chinese patent medicines made into pills and capsules. Foreigners can't eat decoctions. His grandfather's clients are all elites, mostly middle class, who don't understand Chinese medicine health preservation. They are definitely stupid and have a lot of money, which brings a lot of business to the first floor. His grandfather had just passed away before Xia Yu traveled through time some time ago, and he was embarrassed to ask downstairs. In the past half-month or so, he saw people occasionally coming to Xia Yu's place, and he said hello when he saw him today. "Okay, uncle, I overlooked this matter. Don't worry, every time someone comes, I will prescribe a prescription and ask him to come to you to get some medicine." As his own tenant, he definitely had to take care of the business, so Xia Yu agreed immediately. "Okay. Then uncle will wait to rely on you for food." Uncle Wang smiled happily. The two exchanged a few pleasantries, and Xia Yu went upstairs to continue his practice of traditional Chinese medicine. After watching a movie for the whole afternoon, it was almost 5 o'clock. When Xia Yu thought that no one was there today, she received a call for an appointment. It was a new customer who had never been here before and asked if he could come today. Xia Yu saw that it was still early and agreed without hesitation. After waiting for almost an hour, there was a knock on the door. Xia Yu opened the door and was delighted. It was another surprise. It seemed that this old Chinese doctor would have to work longer every day. "Hello, is it you who made the appointment just now? What do you need?" Xia Yu asked the little hot pepper who was wearing a white business suit at the door. Yes, the one who came was Iron Man's future wife and current secretary, Pepper Potts, little hot pepper. "Hello, I'm looking for Dr. Xia. You're not the one, are you?" Little Lei Jiao asked a little confused. "Then you should be talking about my grandfather. If you don't mind, can you come in and talk more?" Xia Yu said, making a gesture to invite him in. Xiao Lajiao followed her into the room, and Xia Yu asked her to sit at the tea table. This has almost become Xia Yu's characteristic now, first make tea and chat, and then provide treatment according to needs. Little Pepper looked around and said to Xia Yu, "Your place is very beautifully decorated and elegant. I like it very much, but excuse me, I'm here to see your grandfather, Dr. Xia." "Thank you for your compliment. My grandfather passed away last month. If you are looking for Dr. Xia, I am the one now." Little Lei Jiao didn't have the idea of distrusting people just because they were young. After all, she was already here. She said, "I have a friend who came here for several toxin removal treatments. She looks very good. Her skin has improved a lot. It's much better than using makeup. You know, women can't refuse this. I want to try it, too." Xia Yu specially brewed a pot of black tea suitable for ladies. Upon hearing this, she poured a cup in front of Xiao Leijiao and said, "I guess your friend didn't come here for beauty treatments. This is a side effect. We Chinese medicine practitioners pay attention to health preservation. We take care of all aspects of the body from the inside out. Naturally, the skin will be better than before. Little Chili took a sip of the black tea politely, her eyes lit up, and she said, "Your tea is great. I drank Chinese tea once before, and I thought Chinese tea was bitter and hard to swallow." Xia Yu was amused and said, "People who are not used to drinking coffee also think so. What do you think? If you don't mind, I need to know your situation in detail. Can I start with your work?" As an old Chinese medicine practitioner, Xia Yu has a systematic technique. The two chatted about Xiao Leijiao's life and work, eating and resting habits, etc., and Xia Yu roughly understood. In fact, Xia Yu saw it at a glance. Since the demand was for better skin, it was nothing more than detoxification and beautification, etc. The first reason was to chat for a while to increase the feeling of the plot and characters, and the second was to make herself look more professional. After a pretense, Xia Yu pointed out that Xiao Leijiao was constipated and had a minor problem with her cervical spine, which surprised Xiao Leijiao, who had never been exposed to Chinese medicine. After all, the four methods of diagnosis and treatment in Western medicine are no different from those of a liar. If it were not for the system arrangement, or his grandfather's decades-long reputation, he could only diagnose minor ailments such as fever and cold in Chinatown. The treatment became much simpler afterwards. With Xia Yu's deliberate flattery, she even used the 9-yang magical skill she had just acquired during acupuncture, which helped open up some of the blocked meridians for Xiao Leijiao and cured some common minor ailments of office workers. The effect could definitely not be seen immediately. Even so, after the acupuncture, Xia Yu still felt relaxed and exclaimed that acupuncture was magical. They agreed to come once a week. Xia Yu left her mobile phone number in case she couldn't answer the phone. Suddenly, she remembered Uncle Wang's instructions downstairs, and picked up a pen and paper to write 4 big Chinese characters, detoxification and beauty. "I believe Uncle Wang will understand what's going on." After sending Pepper out, Xia Yu wiped the sweat off his head and thought to himself, "I have spent so much energy to give you the best results, you must bring me the greatest reward. It would be best if I had the opportunity to meet Tony Stark." Xia Yu actually understands that the system will arrange for him to become stronger step by step and join the plot, but who doesn't want Iron Man's battlesuit? It's a man's dream equipment, and the more familiar he is with it, the better. Successfully helped the plot character to heal, rewarded 50 points, and the system draws a prize. Xia Yu was surprised when the prompt sounded, because the score was higher than before. Was it because of the increased effect of using internal force? Because the last time I treated Nick Fury, I only got 30 points, so I should see what the prize in the lottery is. After seeing it, Xia Yu was delighted. This is so easy to use. Life and Death Talisman, Enhanced Edition. The hidden weapon of the Lingzhu Palace of the Xiaoao sect controls its subordinate sex. After being hit, it itches unbearably, and within 49 days, the internal organs slowly rot and die. System Enhanced Version. After being hit by the Life and Death Talisman, the life and death are all determined by the creator's thoughts, and it will not occur automatically at other times. Note, it cannot be used on plot. Characters. Chapter 8. The effect of the Life and Death Talisman is simply too great. It can easily control a person. Xia Yu knew that the system would not give useless things for no reason. After loading it, he tried how to make it. He did not use it on a person and found that it consumed very little internal energy. With the endless characteristics of the 9-yang divine art, it recovered instantly. Xia Yu vaguely remembered that the Life and Death Talisman seemed to require special internal strength to make, but thinking that the system was omnipotent, right? He got some water to play with and it melted instantly. He felt like an ice maker. Sure enough, the system released a new task the next day. The content is as follows: after a period of training, you have already mastered some combat skills. You already have several magical skills, so you no longer need to do some small fights to control a few. The gangsters provide information and find some powerful gangs to experience more intense fight with them and cultivate your own master's evil spirit. Go, Pikachu! Stop gangster arms and drug trafficking 15 times within 90 days in New York City. Kill both parties in the transaction. The reward points will vary depending on the number of people and the amount of money. Completing the task will reward you with 5,000 points. The system will draw a lottery once, and 5,000 points will be deducted if you fail. It turns out that the skills are useful when given. For a 15 mafia deal, it seems that we can't just hang around Brooklyn. We have to put a few gangsters in each area to gather intelligence. In an apartment near Chinatown in Lower Manhattan, 2 white men were lying on the ground twitching all over, constantly scratching themselves with their hands, their faces so distorted that they looked unrecognizable. A man wearing strange black armor was sitting on the sofa next to them. He looked at the 2 men on the ground with cold eyes under the mask and lazily snapped his fingers with his right hand. Oddly enough, after a snap of their fingers, the 2 men on the ground quickly stopped scratching, but not long after the huge amounts of pain passed, their bodies were still twitching. Xia Yu has walked through the file-size block in New York City these days and controlled dozens of street gang members. Today he remembered that he should put someone at his doorstep so that if anything happens, he can have an early warning. Have you thought it through? Xia Yu's voice was cold. Jonabuz felt that he was really unlucky recently. He was just smoking marijuana at home with his brother without any provocation, and then a strange guy came in for no reason and asked him to join him and provide him with some information in the future. He definitely couldn't agree to it. After all, he was one of the most powerful people in the nearby blocks. As a result, 2 ice cubes appeared in this guy's hand. Yes, you are not mistaken, 2 ice cubes. Jonabuz swore that he could see the cold air coming out of the ice cubes. As a result, the ice cubes entered his body when he shook his hand. Is this a movie? Then there was a hellish torture, endless pain and itching. It was a torture from the body to the soul. This person is not a human, but a devil, absolutely a devil. Xia Yu asked when she didn't hear any answer. Jonabuz suddenly came to his senses, glanced at his younger brother next to him who was already unconscious, and struggled to say, "We promise, we will agree to whatever you say, please don't treat us like that again." He was really scared. "Very good, as long as you satisfy me, that thing in your body will definitely not work. If you don't obey, no matter where you are." Xia Yu pointed at Jonabuz's little brother next to him. Bang! A fist-sized hole exploded in the heart of the unconscious guy, and blood spurted all over the ground. Jonabuz opened his mouth in surprise at first, then instantly fell to his knees, trembling as he expressed his submission to Xia Yu. Xia Yu nodded without comment, left his contact information and left. Yes, he just floated away, just like when he came, he floated down from the 6th floor window. Jonabuz didn't see the scene, he didn't even dare to look up, until Xia Yu had been gone for a long time before he sat down on the ground, staring at the corpse next to him, unable to speak for a long time. This is not the first time Xia Yu has killed someone. The new mission requires him to kill people, so he consciously starts killing people in the process of using the life and death talisman to subdue others. In order to adapt, and also to kill chickens and scare monkeys, from the first time he had to endure the disgust, to now he can kill people without blinking an eye. Many killings have changed Xia Yu's mentality and even his image and temperament by huge amounts. As the number of people under his control increased, Xia Yu finally received intelligence about his first large-scale transaction. In an abandoned factory in the suburbs of New York, there was no one around and the lights were dim. The 2 ferocious-looking transaction parties were all carrying guns and a briefcase on each side. This was a standard drug transaction scene. About 20 people on each side stood on the left and right, and there was no time for opening remarks. Only a few whoosh sounds were heard, and then 3 people on each side suddenly had a fist-sized hole in their heart, as if someone had installed a small bomb in their body, and blood and flesh spurted all over the ground. This gang of drug dealers was extremely vicious, and they all had many lives under their hands. Even so, they were stunned by the scene before them. Before they could react, whoosh, 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 another 6 fell to the ground. It was only then that the drug dealers reacted and drew their guns and looked around for targets. This showed the difference between real gangsters and thugs. Once they reacted, no one shouted or screamed, but they all quickly drew their guns and responded. However, it was too late to react now, as all the lights suddenly went out. Everyone fell into darkness. At this time, Xia Yu, wearing a black armor and a black mask, stepped silently behind a drug dealer with the same Lingbo Weibu as Ghost. He punched him in the back with just one punch. The internal force of the 9 Yang divine art easily shattered the drug dealer's heart meridian. With a bang, the body fell to the ground. The drug dealers could not help themselves and some began to call out their companions' names. Some began to grope their way outside, but before they had taken a few steps, they were knocked down by Xia Yu's punch. This pitch-dark environment was no different to Xia Yu than turning on the lights. 1, 2, 3. More and more drug dealers began to fall. Finally, someone couldn't bear the pressure anymore and started shouting and shooting randomly. With such overwhelming strength, Xia Yu might not be killed even in a head-on attack. Such random shooting was useless and only exposed their position faster. Soon, 21 bodies were lying in a mess in the factory. Xia Yu took the cash brought in for the transaction, left the drugs for the police to deal with, and left the scene with a murderous look and blood on his face. The police who slowly arrived the next day gasped when they saw the scene. Of the 21 bodies at the scene, 12 died of heart explosions, 8 had no external scars, and 1 died of a gunshot wound, accidental killing due to random shooting. It looked very much like gang robbing gangs, but why did they leave drugs behind? The confused New York police could only announce the gang vendetta to the media. However, it seems that there are too many gang vendettas this month. In 1 month, Xia Yu has been on the move 6 times and killed hundreds of people with his own hands. His methods have become more and more brutal. He rarely uses the life and death talisman now. People are basically beaten to death with fists and feet. The murderous aura between his brows is getting heavier and heavier. Now when he goes to a hot pot restaurant to eat, the cashier girl hardly dares to look at him. Chapter 9. Another killing spree followed. This time, Xia Yu broke the Adam's apples of 17 people. His eyes became colder and colder, and he looked at everyone as if they were dead men. Killing is a very dangerous thing, especially when it is not supported by the correct beliefs. Xia Yu received the mission without any preparation, and then he got stuck in a dead end. In order to adapt himself in advance, he forced himself to start killing. Moreover, his situation was different from that on the battlefield. It was too intuitive, with scenes of blood and flesh flying everywhere. Most people would either collapse or become a murderer when faced with such a situation, which is the so-called killing addiction. Xia Yu is actually trapped in such a dangerous situation now. The key is that he has no relatives or friends in this world, which makes it easier for him to get trapped. As mentioned earlier, the 3-story building left by Xia Yu's grandfather had the first floor rented to a pharmacy, right on the street in Chinatown, so Xia Yu had to go through the back door and climb the ladder, an old-fashioned iron ladder, to get home. There was a small platform at the entrance to the 2nd and 3rd floors, so Xia Yu had to go through the 2nd floor first to get home. Normally, after Xia Yu gets off work at night, the 2nd floor would be closed directly. But today there was someone in his studio. Xia Yu's 5 senses were extremely powerful now. He could feel a fly flapping its wings within a range of 50 meters, let alone a living person breathing in the room. Not only did Xia Yu know that there was someone in the room, he also knew that the person was sitting on the sofa. Xia Yu was skilled and bold. He walked straight to the door and prepared to get the key to open it. Xia Yu did not hide his footsteps, so he could clearly feel the footsteps as he walked in. The person on the sofa had moved to the door and lowered the sound of his breathing. Xia Yu did not care and pretended not to know. He naturally took out the key and opened the door to go in. The moment he entered the room, there was a man on his left side pointing a pistol at Xia Yu's head. Xia Yu pushed the gun away with his left hand. The man turned around and kicked and wanted to ride on Xia Yu's neck. Xia Yu reacted very quickly. He blocked and pushed with his left hand, and the man flew more than 1 meter sideways. Xia Yu, who had just killed someone, was full of murderous intent. As soon as the man landed on the ground, Xia Yu turned around, took a step, and punched the man's neck with his right fist with endless murderous intent. If Xia Yu's punch hit the throat right now, Captain America would lose half his life, not to mention others. Xia Yu's punch was as fast as the wind, and seeing another life coming, Xia Yu finally saw the appearance of the person coming, and was shocked. He lost all his killing intentions and stopped his fist in front of the person's neck. Xia Yu didn't know what it meant to hold back now. He punched with all his strength and internal force, and held it back, which was equivalent to hitting himself. He couldn't help but spurt a mouthful of blood on the person's face. He loosened his fist and sat on the ground. The plot twisted too quickly. The man thought he was going to die. He never expected such a result. He didn't know how to react for a moment. Xia Yu also didn't understand why she appeared here at this time. The two of them just stared at each other. After a long while, Xia Yu spoke first, "Why don't you turn on the light first?" The man nodded in agreement. Xia Yu stood up and turned on the light switch. She habitually guided the man to sit at the tea table. Xia Yu didn't know what to say. She silently made tea. Xia Yu didn't know how to explain to others why she suddenly stopped. Could it be that I know you? You are Black Widow, you are Natasha Romanoff, you are Scarlett Johansson, you are the goddess in my mind? Natasha Romanoff didn't know what to say. She was originally on a mission to get intelligence, but she was being chased. There was no shield base nearby, and she couldn't send anyone to support her, because if someone came to support her, it would expose her official identity. So she ran to this place to take refuge under the guidance of Nick Fury. According to Nick Fury, there would be no one in this place at night, and it was normal for the owner to come back at night. But according to Nick Fury, the Oriental young man in front of him should be an ordinary person without any threat, but his skills and murderous aura just now fully showed that this person was not simple. But why couldn't Nick see it? Why did he stop after seeing his face, even if he was injured? Did he know him? Both of them were afraid of revealing their secrets, so no one spoke for a while and the atmosphere was extremely weird. In the end, it was Natasha Romanoff who spoke first and tested the issue. Do you know me? Xia Yu's hands trembled as she made tea. She didn't know how to answer for a moment, so she could only talk about something else. Are you injured? One of your ribs is broken. It will be very dangerous if you don't get treatment. Let me help you take care of it. Who is Natasha Romanoff? She is the ace among spies. Is she from Mission Impossible? She is sure that Xia Yu knows her, and has known her for a long time. Although Natasha Romanoff was also full of questions, looking at Xia Yu's eyes full of sincere concern, the scene of him retracting his fist despite being injured just now constantly appeared in her mind, and Natasha Romanoff nodded silently. Xia Yu stood up and waved her hand to signal Natasha Romanoff to sit down and not move. She reached out to support Natasha Romanoff's back and used her inner strength to slightly perceive the location of Natasha Romanoff's broken ribs. She gently shook the ribs back with a palm, and then constantly injected the Nine-Yang magic skill into her to help her heal the broken parts. Anyway, the secret was exposed and there was no need to hide it. Natasha Romanoff was even more shocked. Not to mention that she could shake her ribs back to their original position by patting herself, her back seemed to be constantly transmitting some kind of energy to her broken bones. At this moment, her bones actually started to itch, which proved that the fractured surface of the bones had begun to grow. What kind of supernatural power was this? Could it be the mysterious Qigong from the east? After just a few minutes, Xia Yu withdrew his hand and said, "Your bones have been connected, but they are still very fragile and need some time to grow. If you have enough time, it's best for you to stay here for a few days. I will help you with the treatment and you will be fully recovered in a few days." Natasha Romanoff didn't answer Xia Yu's question, but suddenly asked, "What about you? You seem to be injured just now, are you okay?" Just those words of concern made Xia Yu feel like crying. The murderous aura that had accumulated recently was torn away fiercely. She suppressed her sobs and said, I'm fine. I'll be fine tomorrow." But Natasha Romanoff's next words made Xia Yu completely collapse. "You killed someone tonight, right? But you seem very unhappy. Can you tell me about it?" Here is an explanation. Natasha Romanoff is a pure movie setting. She was born in 1984 and was 23 years old at this time. She did not have the rich love history of the comics. This sentence made Xia Yu sit on the ground and cry out "wow," like a child. Natasha Romanoff turned around and gently put Xia Yu's head on her lap, and Xia Yu cried even harder. The meeting between the two tonight seems quite strange until now. In fact, from Xia Yu's side, he has been following the Avengers Alliance movie series for more than 10 years, and he has deep feelings for many characters in it, not to mention Natasha Romanoff, the goddess whose appearance has amazed countless people. As a half-orphan whose parents died just after adulthood, he didn't have many close friends in his original world, and he had never had a decent relationship in the true sense. In essence, he is lonely in his heart, otherwise he would not have more friends in the game than in reality. He was suddenly thrown into such a dangerous world, asked to be a superhero, asked to fight. After the initial novelty and excitement wore off, it was indeed a lot of pressure for a child who grew up in a peaceful environment and had just entered the society. In addition, this mission asked him to kill people. He had no way to escape and could only force himself to be cold and cruel. He collapsed directly after hearing two words of concern full of maternal radiance. On the one hand, Natasha Romanoff felt the system's favorable impression of Xia Yu, and on the other hand, Xia Yu was willing to get hurt rather than hurt her. This was something she had never felt before. It was not the kind of feeling that a comrade or colleague would give her, but was purely out of personal concern. The most important thing was Natasha Romanoff's experience in the Red Room and the KGB. She didn't want to kill anyone but had to, and in the end, she was forced to be cold-blooded and ruthless. Natasha Romanoff was very familiar with this state. In fact, Natasha Romanoff is full of maternal radiance in the movie. This can be seen from the fact that everyone in the Avengers Alliance regards Hulk as a violent and fighting maniac, but only Natasha Romanoff truly treats him as a child and comforts him, and she falls in love with Banner because of this concern. In fact, Hulk is essentially a child, as can be seen from his performance in Thor 3. Due to various reasons, plus the deliberate arrangement of the system, today's meeting seemed extremely weird, but it pulled Xia Yu back from going further and further on the road of killing. It is not scary to have a dark side, but it is scary that you cannot find the light. If this goes on for a long time, Xia Yu will probably become a killing machine before he completes the task this time. But the appearance of Natasha Romanoff tonight brought a ray of sunshine into his heart at the right time, shining right at the most vulnerable and helpless part of his heart. Xia Yu cried for more than an hour, and finally fell asleep leaning on Natasha Romanoff. Chapter 10. The first ray of sunlight in the early morning came in through the window, and Xia Yu woke up slowly. When she looked up, she saw Natasha Romanoff's gentle gaze and smile, with golden sunlight in the background. It felt so good. Xia Yu stood up and stretched, yawned contentedly and asked, "You didn't sleep all night?" "I lay on the table for a while. I guess that's how I paid my medical bills." Natasha Romanoff pointed to her thigh. Xia Yu looked at the saliva marks still on it, turned around embarrassedly and said, "I'll go upstairs to make breakfast for you, you can come up later." Looking at Xia Yu's fleeing back, Natasha Romanoff laughed out loud. Seeing Xia Yu running out of the door and climbing the stairs, she lowered her head and gently felt her rib injury with her hand. She felt the growth of the bones and praised the magic of Oriental medicine again. Even if she went back to the headquarters for treatment, it would take at least 2 weeks to recover to her current condition. It seemed that she needed to rest here for a few more days. Xia Yu was happily frying eggs. Why was he so happy? Because he had a smile on his face all the time. He looked silly, like an honest countryman who married a charming wife and got up to make breakfast for his wife after the wedding night. "Is there a charge for breakfast?" Natasha Romanoff asked as she pushed the door open. "I've prepared clothes for you in the bathroom. They're my mother's clothes from when she was alive. I've kept them. There's no extra charge for them." Xia Yu's smile grew even wider. Xia Yu still had a silly smile on her face when Natasha Romanoff came out of the shower and they sat opposite each other to eat breakfast. Natasha Romanoff ignored Xia Yu and quietly enjoyed this breakfast. It was a sunny breakfast with a silly smiling big boy beside her. Natasha Romanoff didn't know how long it had been since she felt so relaxed. The two of them tacitly agreed not to ask each other any questions to break the relaxation and tranquility. After dinner, Xia Yu cleaned up the table and asked nervously, seemingly unintentionally, "Your injuries are not fully recovered. Do you want to rest here for a few days? I suggest you wait until you are fully recovered before leaving." Xia Yu tried to sound as relaxed and nonchalant as possible, but the dripping tablecloth in her hand betrayed her. Natasha Romanoff pointed at the water stains on the floor and said with a smile, "When you finish cleaning the floor, I need you to go out with me to buy some clothes that suit me. I don't want to sleep in someone else's pajamas at night." Xia Yu didn't expect that he would go shopping with a girl in Times Square in the Marvel world. He also didn't expect that the girl next to him was Black Widow, the goddess of countless otaku's dreams in his previous life. To be honest, he was a little nervous and didn't know how to walk. Just when he was thinking about whether to put his hands in his pockets or swing them outside, Natasha Romanoff naturally took his hand and whispered in his ear, "If you don't know where to put your hands, then I think it's better for you to hold them." After saying that, he looked at Xia Yu who was blushing and laughed. Xia Yu had never seen this side of Natasha Romanoff, but as she smiled and frowned, she put on ordinary jeans and a white t-shirt. She kept trying the clothes on her body to ask herself if they looked good. She was struggling to choose between two colors. Xia Yu felt that the image of Black Widow in her mind and the girl in front of her were slowly integrating and becoming flesh and blood. Natasha Romanoff took Xia Yu shopping for a whole day, from morning to afternoon. They had lunch outside, drank coffee, and went to see a movie. It was not until dusk that Natasha Romanoff, still not satisfied, took Xia Yu out of the mall. Times Square at dusk was a little more lively than during the day. There were many more people shopping and many street performances, including magic and jokers. Xia Yu followed Natasha Romanoff and stopped in front of a street singer. The singer was a middle-aged man in his 40s, holding a guitar and singing an American country song. The lyrics sang about a country girl who left her youth and came to the big city to work hard. It reminded Xia Yu of the song Small Town Girl by David Tao in his previous life. The lyrics were similar and the melody was also very nice. Natasha Romanoff held Xia Yu's hand and hummed along softly, just like an ordinary girl shopping with her boyfriend and seeing someone singing her favorite song on the street. Xia Yu felt an inexplicable pain in her heart and thought of Black Widow in the movie. She had been trained as a spy and killer since she was a child. She never had a normal childhood and no friends. It was not until she met Hawkeye and joined S.H.I.E.L.D. that she found the faith to support her heart. After great difficulty, she fell in love with Bruce Banner. Originally, two people who were afraid of being hurt and even more afraid of hurting others could warm each other up. Until Natasha Romanoff finally mustered up the courage to take the first step, Bruce Banner did not have the courage to accept it. Until the end, Natasha Romanoff did not get her own love. Until the 4 members of the Avengers Alliance sacrificed for the Soul Gem, other people either had families or friends, and even Captain America finally lived the life he wanted, except Black Widow. Thinking of this, Xia Yu looked at Natasha Romanoff who was still humming a song beside him, and there was a little more love and protectiveness in his eyes, just like the way Natasha Romanoff looked at him last night. Xia Yu gently let go of Natasha Romanoff's hand, walked to the singer with an inquiring look in her eyes, and asked him to borrow his guitar. Xia Yu didn't say anything. In the surprised eyes of Natasha Romanoff, she slowly sang, "Ma, take the badge off of me, I can't use it anymore, it's getting dark, too dark to see, feel like I'm knocking on heaven's door." This song Knocking on Heaven's Door is one of the representative works of the famous American band Guns N' Roses. It tells the story of an old soldier who goes home and tells his mother that he no longer needs medals and guns. It sings about an old soldier's fatigue and disgust with war. This song does not exist in this world, but good music works resonate in any world. Moreover, Xia Yu almost perfectly expressed the meaning of the lyrics. More and more people came around, and in the end many people even hummed along with tears in their eyes. Xia Yu looked at Natasha Romanoff again, but she was already standing there crying. Fortunately, in 2007, communications were not so developed, otherwise many people around would have picked up their mobile phones to take videos, which would have caused Natasha Romanoff a lot of inconvenience. As the last note fell lightly, the people around her spontaneously burst into thunderous applause, and then strongly requested Xia Yu to sing another song. Xia Yu wanted to refuse, but unexpectedly the system issued a temporary task: sing a theme song from a martial arts TV show or movie in your previous life. The requirement is that it must have a Chinese style and a martial arts feel. The reward is a magical weapon from the martial arts story. Xia Yu was a bit puzzled, and quickly recalled the martial arts movies or TV series he had watched. In fact, the first song that came to his mind was the difficult sutra in Demigods and Semi-Devils, but there were no magical weapons in it. Besides, he didn't even remember the lyrics of the song. There were a lot of magical weapons in Feng Yun, and they were very high-end. The key was that he hadn't watched the TV series much, so he couldn't sing it. He could sing Li's flying darts, but the main thing in the weapon list there was actually people, and the weapons were originally very ordinary. Suddenly Xia Yu remembered that the original singer of Nan Nian De Jing also had a song, which was the theme song for an early version of the Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber, the version played by the famous Roaring Emperor. Although Xia Yu had not seen it, she had heard this song many times. It was called Sword Like a Dream. So Xia Yu slowly began to sing this song with a strong Chinese style under the expectant gazes of the people around her. Where does my sword go? Love and hate are not exclusive, my knife cuts through the sky, I don't know right from wrong. I'm drunk and hazy, gratitude and resentment are illusions and emptiness. Come and go in a hurry, I hate that we can't meet, love is fleeting, hate is fleeting, everything is up to the wind, a wild laugh and a long sigh, a happy life, a sad life, who will live and die with me? Who will live and die with me? After the song was over, there was a lot of applause again. Although people didn't understand the lyrics, music has no boundaries. The uninhibited and happy mood expressed in the song reached the hearts of every listener. Xia Yu returned the guitar to the uncle next to him. The uncle asked Xia Yu excitedly, "Oh, man, your singing is amazing. You are a professional singer, right? A Chinese singer?" "No, I was just singing by myself." "Thanks for the guitar, man," Xia Yu said and hurried away. Someone around him started taking pictures of him. Xia Yu dragged Natasha Romanoff away from the crowd in a hurry. The old man was still shouting at him from behind, "You should sing. You will be famous." I swear. Chapter 11. The two of them didn't get rid of the gazes behind them until they turned a corner and walked into a small alley. Xia Yu was just about to open the system space to see what reward she had received when Natasha Romanoff suddenly stepped forward and kissed her. Xia Yu leaned back against the wall without noticing. "FK, I'm trapped against the wall." Only these words came out of Xia Yu's mind, and her thoughts stopped. After an unknown amount of time, their lips slowly parted. "Thank you for the song just now," Natasha Romanoff said. Xia Yu was still savoring the kiss just now, and said, "You're welcome. I've already included it in the medical expenses." The two were still hugging each other at this time. Natasha Romanoff looked into Xia Yu's eyes and said, "Since it's paid, I can't waste it. I have to enjoy it a little more." After that, the two were about to express their passion with their mouths again, but were ruthlessly interrupted by a voice. "Don't you know that such behavior is very harmful to a single homeless person like me?" said a homeless man leaning against a trash can less than 5 meters away from them. The two were so focused that no one noticed. When they heard someone talking, they both loosened their arms awkwardly. Xia Yu took out $200 bills from her pocket and threw them to the homeless man, saying, "Let's have a good meal to make up for your injury." The homeless man took the $200 bills ecstatically and said, "Thank you for your generosity, sir. Your girlfriend is so hot. Look at her figure." The homeless man wiped his saliva as he spoke. "Take your eyes away, man, or I'll show you how much hotter my fist is," Xia Yu said as he pulled Natasha Romanoff out without looking back. After what happened just now, the relationship between the two became much more natural, especially Xia Yu. On the way back, Xia Yu took the time to look at the reward he had just received. The Heavenly Sword, the #1 sword in the Heavenly Sword and the Dragon Saber. Before the fall of Xiangyang City, Guo Jing and Huangrong used the heavy black iron sword given by Yang Guo, the two swords of the gentleman and the lady, and the fine gold from the west to refine the Heavenly Sword and the Dragon Saber, which were the sharpest and strongest weapons at that time. "Tmul, does this sword contain the 9 yin scriptures and the 18 dragon subduing palms?" Xia Yu was sitting in a taxi with Natasha Romanoff at the time and took the time to ask. "No, master. This sword has the sharp and sturdy characteristics of the original novel. It was created based on the novel system, and its appearance was selected from various online games according to your aesthetic taste." Tmul said. "How strong is it? Please use the standards of this world to give an analogy." Xia Yu had to ask this question clearly. When the time comes to take it out for battle, if it breaks when it is hit on a piece of metal, what use would it be? "Master, please feel free to use it. How can the magic weapon from the Chinese martial arts legend be worse than the things in this world? It is on the same level as vibranium," Tmul said. Xia Yu nodded. He finally had a weapon. He couldn't just fight with his fists in the future. He was not the Hulk. Besides, with the system, he would have extraordinary skills sooner or later. Without a sword at this time, it would be like Thor without a hammer, Iron Man without armor, Hawkeye without a bow and arrow, Captain America without a shield, and the Hulk without indestructible stretch pants. I wonder if I'll have the skill of flying a sword when I get more points. Qing Gong is not flying after all. Thinking about it, Xia Yu burst out laughing. Seeing Natasha Romanoff looking at him curiously, he quickly explained, "Oh, I was just wondering if I would really become a big star if I became a singer." Natasha Romanoff rolled her eyes at him and said, "You are not allowed to be a singer, but next time I come you have to sing for me." Natasha Romanoff's charming look and Xia Yu's nodding like a woodpecker showed that people in love really have no IQ, and this applies to both men and women. After putting the things at home, Xia Yu took Natasha Romanoff out for a Chinese meal. After returning, she continued to treat Natasha Romanoff's injuries. The internal force of the 9 Yang magic art is a holy product for healing. She warmed the broken bones every day to ensure that they would heal as if they had never been broken. That night, naturally, everything that was supposed to happen happened. The two of them madly vented their lust, emotions, and inner loneliness on each other. It was an almost crazy night, and they fell into a deep sleep at dawn. This was the first time that Xia Yu had traveled to this world and felt that he was real. It was also the first time that Natasha Romanoff had completely relaxed herself. In the following few days, Xia Yu simply stopped the business on the second floor, and the two of them went out shopping, watching movies, and sailing every day like an ordinary couple. While he was healing her wounds, Xia Yu also used his true qi to heal her hidden injuries and eliminate some toxins. If Tmul hadn't said that Yi Jinjing was not suitable for Natasha Romanoff and would recommend a suitable method to her later, he would have almost started teaching Natasha Romanoff to practice Yi Jinjing. Black Widow practiced Yi Jinjing, and then did Arhut Palm and Weichuo Fist or something like that. It was exciting just thinking about it. That night, after the two of them had S*X, Natasha Romanoff leaned on Xia Yu's chest and looked up at Xia Yu's face. She liked this feeling, the tranquility after the passion, just looking at him, the oriental boy who belonged to her. Although Natasha Romanoff was not very old, the movie setting, her experience was too complicated. There had never been a person like this boy who belonged to her, who could blush for her and sing for her. Natasha Romanoff reached out and gently stroked Xia Yu's cheek, saying, "Xia, I have to go." Xia Yu had just lit a cigarette and blew out a long puff of smoke. He was habitually removing the cigarette cartridge from his mouth and flicking off the ash when he suddenly heard Natasha Romanoff say she was leaving. Her hand went straight to the cigarette butt. After a flurry of activity, Xia Yu said depressedly, "So soon?" "No, there's a saying in China that it takes 100 days to heal a broken bone. It's been less than a week since you've recovered." "No, I'm a doctor, you have to listen to me, you're not well yet." Xia Yu looked like a child in a rage, with his mouth pouting. Natasha Romanoff liked this look of his the most. She kissed him distressedly and said helplessly, "Some things have to be done by someone. Although I have never told you about it, I know you know it. I have no choice. I have to go." Xia Yu simply didn't have any worries anymore and cursed loudly, "Damn one-eyed dragon, don't you know to assign you less work? You only rested for a few days. You really know everything." Natasha Romanoff smiled and then said, "Tell me, what else do you know?" Xia Yu was silent for a while, then said, "I only know some major events, but I can't tell you, Natasha Romanoff. There are some things that will change if I tell you, and no one knows whether the change is good or bad. You have to believe me, but I will never let anything happen to you. I believe you, dear. From the moment I saw you that night, I knew you knew me. Although I don't know how you knew, I am willing to believe you. It's a strange feeling, isn't it? My job doesn't allow me to trust any strangers, even people around me, but I am willing to believe you. I feel very strange myself. What's the saying in Chinese? Fate. Destined. Destined." Natasha Romanoff finally blurted out an idiom word by word. "Yes." Xia Yu smiled. "It was fate. It was fate that I would come here and meet you, you know? Natasha Romanoff, I had to do something and almost fell into the dark swamp. Then I met you. In fact, you saved me, you know. I had that time too, Xia, just like you. Although I don't know why you want to kill, remember to never lose your heart, okay? My big boy." Natasha Romanoff turned over and slowly lowered her head to kiss him as she spoke. Chapter 12. Natasha Romanoff is gone after all. Xia Yu is reluctant but knows there is nothing he can do. He can only pray that time will pass quickly, so that Captain America, the Winter Soldier can begin soon, S.H.I.E.L.D. will disband soon, and the Avengers Alliance will become independent. Then they can be together every day. But there are still 7 years, 7 years. Now the Iron Man plot has not started yet. Xia Yu is melancholy, missing her, and the days are like years. He pulls his hair strand by strand, fearing that his hairstyle will become Nick Fury's sooner or later. Natasha Romanoff didn't come back for more than 2 months. She did call from time to time, but the calls were not very long. Xia Yu knew she was on a mission, but there was nothing she could do. Nick Fury also didn't come once. Maybe S.H.I.E.L.D. had some big operation. Pepper came twice. She had agreed to come every week because she used to come to New York every week to handle work, but now she only comes once a month because Tony Stark's headquarters and home are in Los Angeles, which is located on the east and west coast of the United States with New York. Although she had only come twice, as Xia Yu's 9-yang magical skill internal strength became stronger, acupuncture indirectly helped her cure many minor ailments with her internal strength, and her skin became better and better. She smiled more and more passionately every time she came. It was probably because Tony Stark, the playboy, looked at her more and more ambiguously. "You two bastards!" Xia Yu couldn't eat the grapes, so she had to curse secretly. "The mission has been completed, 5,000 points rewarded, and the system will draw a prize." Tmul's voice sounded again. Xia Yu skillfully completed the prize drawing without any suspense. Congratulations, Master, for obtaining the Dugu 9 swords. Xia Yu was not surprised at all. He felt that the system was following him step by step according to his needs. Tmul, I feel like they only give me things based on my needs, so there's no point in having a mall like that, Xia Yu complained. That's right, Master. In the early stage, I will make reasonable use of the lottery rewards and points to provide you with some necessary things and skills, such as weapons, physical fitness, internal strength, etc. These are the most optimized choices. In the later stage, please choose the skills you need according to your own combat habits and methods. The system will change. Tmul said. Xia Yu nodded to show his understanding. It was just like the novice period when playing a game. Only after becoming familiar with the profession can one develop his own characteristics. Thinking of this, he quickly loaded the Dugu 9 swords and began to check his current status. 9 Yang Divine Art, this is a very comprehensive internal energy technique that increases attack, defense, and agility, restores health and mana, and also provides a protective shield. It feels like a super cool passive skill. Lingbo Weibu, the original book says that after mastering the 9 Yang magic art, the lightness skill of the body surpasses all the lightness skills in the world, but I feel that Lingbo Weibu is not in this list, because the concept of lightness skill is to jump high, jump far, and fall slowly. As the name suggests, lightness skill is the skill of making the body lighter. Xia Yu understands it as using internal force to fight against the gravity of the earth, but the internal force of the 9 Yang magic art is more useful. Lingbo Weibu is a step used to avoid attacks and accelerate in a straight line. Dugu 9 swords, this is also a kind of kung fu where no moves are better than moves. The scientific explanation is the fighting technique with swords, which is a collection of various sword skills. It is actually a very modern martial arts theory, but it has more variations when used with internal force. Yi Jinjing, this is the foundation, which enhances the body's adaptability to the martial arts system. Life and Death Talisman, it is obviously used for transition between tasks. It cannot control the characters in the plot and can only be used as a long-range hidden weapon at present. Tmul, considering my current situation and points, see if there is anything suitable for me. Xia Yu said, looking at the 25,455 points on her, the reward for completing the task and the points increased during the task, and the points for helping others with treatment. Okay Master, considering your current situation, I suggest you choose the Dragon Elephant Prajna Sutra. Tian Mao said as he popped up the Dragon Elephant Prajna Sutra interface for Xia Yu. Dragon Elephant Prajna Kong, system enhanced version. It is the supreme dharma protecting kung fu in Tibetan Tantric Buddhism. It is divided into 13 levels. Its external palm power is fierce and fierce. Each level of Dragon Elephant Prajna Kong will increase the power of 1 dragon and 1 elephant. After practicing 13 levels, the pure flesh body has the power of 13 dragons and 13 elephants. The dragon and elephant have the power of 1,000 pounds respectively. Price, 104,000 points. So each layer adds 1 ton of force. Oh my god, after practicing this, I will have 13 tons of force. Xia Yu exclaimed, but think about it, little Spider-Man can easily intercept a speeding bus when he just debuted, and Iron Man Mark III can throw cars for fun. This amount of force is nothing. Wait a minute. How can I learn these 100,000 plus points from Tmul? It's far from enough. Can I pay in installments? Xia Yu just saw the zero after the points. It does not support installment payments, but it can be purchased in layers. The owner can buy the first 3 layers first, and then buy the rest when the points are enough. Come on then. Xia Yu clicked without hesitation, and sure enough, there was an option to purchase in stages. To purchase Dragon Elephant Prajna Paramita Merit Level 1 to 3, the points would be minus 24,000, and the points that had just been obtained were instantly reduced to 1,455. Xia Yu confirmed the loading and his hands were quick, but he forgot that this was an external skill that required the transformation of the body. He once again experienced the pain that penetrated deep into his soul. Every muscle and bone in his body was constantly torn and reorganized countless times. After 20 minutes, Xia Yu was lying on the ground like a dead dog again, and the ground was also a mess like last time. And Tmul kindly reminded again, Master, I suggest you go wash yourself first, although I don't. Get out. Xia Yu once again lay on the bed and lit a cigarette for aftermath, but this time the aftermath refers to after practicing the Dragon Elephant Prajna Sutra. Xia Yu began to recall all the Marvel movies in his mind, one after another, and he had to connect the plots, to enhance his strength without changing the plots to the greatest extent, and to smoothly transition to the time of snapping his fingers, but he had to ensure that he did not disappear after snapping his fingers, because he needed to ensure that Natasha Romanoff survived. As for what would happen next, since he didn't know, he wouldn't think too much about it, just strengthen his strength and do it. It is November 2007 now. Tony Stark was kidnapped in Afghanistan in 2008. The exact month is not clear, but the movie was released in May. I believe it is not much different. Tony Stark stayed in the cave for 3 months. He must have participated in the battle with Ironmonger Obadiah Stane. Otherwise, how about finding a way to sneak into S.H.I.E.L.D. first? The figure of Black Widow appeared in front of Xia Yu again. Before the Avengers Alliance begins, there seems to be nothing to touch. It is better not to touch the Hulk, because I really can't afford to hurt him now. Thor is also very difficult, and Asgard is too complicated. For someone like me who has an unknown origin, I must stay away from Odin and Ancient One in the early stage. They are definitely two gods who are not inferior to or even surpass Thanos. At least Thanos is definitely not a match for those two without infinite gems. In the early stage, I seem to have no other choice except S.H.I.E.L.D. and Tony Stark. Nokia's classic incoming call ringtone interrupted Xia Yu's reverie. She picked up the phone and was delighted. Just as she had imagined, it was a call from Xiao La Jiao. Hello, Miss Potts, if I'm not mistaken, it should be midnight now. I am not accepting any appointments now. Xia Yu pretended to be surprised. Oh, Xia, I'm sorry to bother you so late. I need your help. Can you come to Los Angeles, said Pepper. What's wrong, Miss Potts, are you sick? You don't sound like it. Why do you want to go to Los Angeles? You know, I never provide door-to-door service. Xia Yu said calmly. No, I'm fine, thank you for your concern. It's my boss. You know I recently had treatment at your place and the effect was very good, so my boss hopes that you can be his health doctor. That's what I mean. If possible, I need you to come to Los Angeles. My boss needs an interview. Yes, I hope you don't mind. My boss's identity is a little special. Yes, an interview is needed. Little Pepper said cautiously. Xia Yu almost covered her mouth and laughed out loud. She just wanted to go wherever she wanted. Tony Stark had already been sent to her side. However, she still pretended to be angry on the phone and said, Ms. Potts, I am not a person who is isolated from the world. I also watch TV and read newspapers. I know who your boss is, but I have no interest in becoming anyone's personal doctor, and I strongly refuse the interview because I don't really need this job, even if the other party is the president. After that, Xia Yu hung up the phone. Xia Yu is betting that Tony Stark is a very proud person, and that doing things for him for money does not make you his friend. He needs to maintain a good relationship with the characters in the plot, rather than an employment relationship. And when dealing with someone like Tony Stark, especially the current Tony Stark, a hard slap in the face may be more likely to deepen his impression. The author has something to say. Starting tomorrow, 4 chapters will be updated every day. All the settings in the book are from the movie universe, so comic fans don't mind. Chapter 13. Los Angeles, Malibu Beach. As the top wealthy villa area in Los Angeles and even the entire west coast of the United States, many celebrities and wealthy businessmen own their own houses here, definitely including Tony Stark. At the moment, Pepper Potts was the only one in the empty hall, holding a phone in his hand, and there was a busy tone. Pepper Potts smiled helplessly, opened the door of the underground laboratory and walked down. Tony, I told you this isn't okay. You have to learn to respect those who help you. Pepper said to Tony Stark, who was doing an experiment with his head down. You mean he rejected me? Refused to be Tony Stark's personal physician? Doesn't he know that the income from serving me alone is higher than serving all the gentlemen and ladies on Wall Street? Tony Stark said without raising his head. Knowing that he couldn't stop working once he started, Pepper went over and stopped Tony Stark's work, looked at him and said, he knows who we are, Tony. Look at me, look at my face. I've only been there 3 times, and it took less than 4 hours in total. You know what, Tony? I feel like my body has returned to 10 years ago. I've never been better than it is now. This is not an effect that can be achieved by going to the gym a few times a day, you know? In Xia's words, this is called maintaining the body from the inside out. Do you know how magical this is? He is a genius. Tony, come with me to New York tomorrow and we'll meet and talk to him. I believe your sincerity in going there in person will impress him. I admit you look fine now. Tony Stark looked at Pepper and said, then he went back to work and continued, I won't personally hire a healthcare practitioner, and I don't like you calling others geniuses in front of me. I think I am the greatest genius in your mind, not a healthcare practitioner, definitely, in the eyes of others as well. I'll arrange a flight for tomorrow morning. I'll pick you up tomorrow. Go to bed early and have a good sleep, boss. Little Pepper turned. He walked away and said firmly. Pepper normally obeys Tony Stark's orders absolutely, especially before she became the CEO of Stark Industries. She was very obedient to Tony Stark and took good care of his life, except when there were health problems with Tony, then she would be extremely tough. Just now when Tony Stark showed a little bit of discomfort, but not illness in the medical sense, Pepper remembered Xia Yu's theory of health preservation, so she couldn't wait to recommend Xia Yu and called regardless of time. It was a rare occasion that Pepper was tough with him, so Tony Stark shrugged and said nothing, because he felt the concern and also because Pepper had changed so much recently. When he was dating the cover girl of the magazine, his mind was full of Pepper. Tony Stark sighed, put down the work at hand, and went to rest obediently. Xia Yu made the right bet, and the next afternoon he met one of the sole figures in Avengers, Iron Man Tony Stark, although the atmosphere was not very harmonious at the beginning. The genius who knows the mysterious oriental medical skills you mentioned couldn't be this kid, Pepper, are you sure you didn't recognize the wrong person? Tony Stark started to swear as soon as he entered the room. Mr. Stark, Xia Yu's clinic is the most famous in New York. It has been like this since his grandfather's time. The most prestigious and influential people in Manhattan need to make an appointment to be seen. Pepper said to Tony Stark while smiling at Xia Yu. Tony Stark obviously didn't appreciate Pepper's kindness, and continued to provoke, I believe his grandfather has magical oriental medical skills, but I find it hard to believe that this kid in front of me can be as magical as you say. After that, Tony Stark turned his head and looked at Xia Yu and said, how old are you this year, kid? Are you of legal drinking age? Xia Yu was brewing tea on the tea table. Hearing this, she said to Tony Stark, I am 23 years old this year. Mr. Stark, I heard that you entered MIT at the age of 15 and took charge of your family business at the age of 21. Don't you know that age is not everything? How can it be the same? I'm Tony Stark, the world's most famous genius, billionaire, playboy. Tony Stark said arrogantly. Then go buy a medical journal and read it carefully and heal your own body to prove it to me, Mr. Genius. Xia Yu did not give in. Xia Yu poured a cup of tea and made a gesture of invitation to Little Pepper, saying, Miss Potts, have a taste of your favorite black tea. Pepper thanked her and took it. Tony Stark sat down naturally and poured himself a cup. He said, your tea is good. Although I usually drink coffee, kid, do you know who you are provoking? My talent is to make the most advanced weapons in the world, not to be a small health doctor. And I don't think it takes much talent to be a good health doctor. Xia Yu graciously refilled the glasses for the two of them, but said unforgivingly, so the great Mr. Stark can create weapons that can destroy the earth but can't repair his own, frail and old body? Mr. Stark, may I ask how old you are this year? Let me guess. 45. Xia Yu definitely did it on purpose. Tony Stark was born in 1970, so he is only 37 years old now. And compared to the movie, Tony Stark now looks younger. Damn it, I'm far from 40. I work out more than 4 times a week and I'm very strong. How dare you describe me as weak and old? I hate that word. Damn it, you PD me off. Do you have any boxing gloves here? I must show you what strong means. Tony Stark was so angry that he danced with joy. Xia Yu turned to Pepper with a surprised look on her face and asked, Ms. Potts, are you sure this Mr. Stark is less than 40 years old this year? Oh my god, he looks like your father. After that, she ignored Pepper's reaction and turned to Tony Stark and continued, you said you work out 4 times a week? I'm sorry, sir, but I have to say that the best maintained part of your body is your beard. Although it doesn't match you at all, it at least looks well groomed. Tony Stark drank the tea in the cup in one gulp, as if in a huff, and said, I actually met a guy who is even more annoying than me. My father once described me as the more talented I am, the more sarcastic I am. I will give my sarcastic side to you now, and then we will see your genius side. Then he turned to Pepper and said, "Pepper, go downstairs and buy me a cup of coffee. I really can't get used to drinking tea. Just look around the store at the intersection to see if there's any concentrated sulfuric acid. If the effect isn't satisfactory, I'm going to splash it on this kid's face." Pepper was watching them bickering with a smile on her face. It was rare to see Tony get humiliated. She knew Tony Stark very well. If he didn't like someone, he wouldn't waste his words on them. Xia Zhen was a very charming young man. She liked him at first sight. Tony seemed to have a good impression of him as well. System's favorable impression of plot characters. Hearing what Tony Stark said, Pepper smiled and nodded, gave Xia Yu an apologetic look, then got up and went downstairs. Tony Stark turned around and said to Xia Yu viciously until he could no longer hear Pepper's footsteps coming down the stairs. "Boy, I got up early in the morning and left my lab. I took a plane for several hours. You'd better make me feel that it's worth it. I need Pepper's all-round care from the inside out. Do you understand me?" Xia Yu smiled, "Mr. Stark, actually, if you are afraid of wasting time, a small blue pill can solve your problem. It is sold in the pharmacy downstairs. You can get a 20% discount if you mention my name." Xia Yu saw the main problem as soon as he entered the door. Otherwise, how could Tony Stark fly over here in person so quickly? It turned out that there was a problem with a man's most important function. "Damn it, how did you figure that out? I need to repair my body." "Repair, do you understand? Just like an engine that's running slowly, I need you to repair or upgrade it, instead of overloading it, do you understand? That will shorten the life of the engine." "Damn it, what I want to say is that I've been working too long hours recently and haven't had enough rest, so various functions of my body have been affected, but I don't have extra time to rest, so I need your special medical skills to help my body rest and restore its proper functions." "Yes, that's what I mean," Tony Stark explained seriously. "I completely understand what you mean and your needs, and I will not disclose the specific details of your treatment to anyone. But to achieve the best results, I need you to come twice a week for more than 3 months, and you cannot have S*X with any woman during these 3 months, definitely not men." Xia Yu answered very seriously. 3 months won't work. That's too long. Do you know how many hot girls I have to face every day? I can't reject every one of them. It's not gentlemanly to reject a lady, especially a beautiful one. Tony Stark bargained. "Then go buy that little blue pill. I can't help you, but I must tell you that your engine has run too long a distance. If you force it to accelerate, it will be scrapped. I definitely have a way to make you achieve the effect of that little blue pill without scrapping it, but your engine will become irreparable and you can only maintain your current horsepower." Xia Yu shrugged his shoulders to show that he was powerless. "Damn, have you seen Maxim magazine? I said I would try to be their monthly cover girl this year, but I missed their February model and I thought there was no hope. Who knew that their cover next month would be a pair of twins? I think this is a chance God has given me and I must seize it. So by next month at the latest, I must be in good shape so that I can deal with 2 at the same time, and without any side effects. You have to help me think of a solution, and you can name your own price." Tony Stark said. "It's not a matter of money, but it will take nearly a month. I need to monitor your sleep and diet every day and provide you with treatment every day. Do you have the time to stay here for a month?" Xia Yu said. "I'm here with you? Live together for a month? I can't do that. In fact, I want you to be my personal health doctor. To be honest, I quite admire the changes you have brought to Pepper. I mean, it's very natural and dazzling, isn't it? So if you are willing, come to Los Angeles with me, and you can set any conditions." Tony Stark finally made an invitation. "I'm sorry, I'm not interested in being anyone's personal healthcare doctor. In fact, I don't plan to work in this industry again. I can help you solve this problem this time, but you have to promise me, Mr. Stark, that you need to follow my arrangements until your treatment is completed." Xia Yu said. "The author has something to say. Today is the first chapter, there are 4 chapters in total. Some people say that Black Widow is promiscuous. Why is the protagonist with her? This is a movie universe, not a comic book. In Captain America 3, Black Widow said to Winter Soldier, 'You should know me.' This is from Captain America, the Winter Soldier. She told Captain America that Winter Soldier had killed the scientist she was protecting and shot her. There is no promiscuity in the movie." Chapter 14 System tasks: use your medical skills and the inner strength of the Nine Yang magic to cure Iron Man Tony Stark's minor physical problems, and show Iron Man, one of the three giants of Avengers, the magical and powerful side of Chinese martial arts. Mission reward, 10,000 points. Xia Yu accepted the task without hesitation and followed Tony Stark and Pepper to Los Angeles. Jarvis, give this kid some permission. He will live in our house for the next month. Tony Stark said as soon as he entered the door. Yes, Mr. Stark, the basic database has been established. Welcome, Mr. Xia. Jarvis said. Jarvis is my artificial intelligence butler. He can monitor the entire house at any time and can easily find your file from the government database. You can ask Jarvis about anything at home, including how hot the water is when you take a shower. He is everywhere. If you need anything else, just ask Pepper. She will stay with us for a month. I don't want to live alone with a man, even if he is my doctor. Tony Stark said to Xia Yu. Then let's start the treatment tomorrow. It's our first day living in such a beautiful big house, so I think we should have a rich dinner together. I'll provide you with an authentic Chinese meal tonight. Pepper, do you mind taking me out to buy some things? Xia Yu said. Pepper agreed with a smile and walked out of the house with Xia Yu. Damn, I kind of regret bringing this kid to my house. Tony Stark said jealously. Hot pot is definitely a good choice for a gathering of three. Xia Yu was pleasantly surprised to find an old-fashioned copper pot in Chinatown in Los Angeles, but she couldn't find authentic sesame oil, so she could only mix it with sesame paste. Tony Stark's living room has windows that can be raised and lowered, with a balcony with guardrails outside and the sea below. Xia Yu discovered that the balcony led directly to the roof, and happily moved the tables and chairs to the roof. Xia Yu was busy washing vegetables and cutting meat, and Pepper was helping with a smile on her face. She really liked this family atmosphere. Tony Stark's house was too deserted. No other country in the world had the talent like the Chinese, that is, one meal could make the whole house full of the atmosphere of home. After a long time of fiddling with it, it was finally done. Tony Stark was holding a small box with ice beer in it. It was done. Xia Yu opened the lid, and a burst of hot air with the aroma of chili rose up. I want to see what's so great about this hot pot you've been preparing for so long. Isn't it just boiling water to cook the ingredients and then serving them with dipping sauce? It's even worse than barbecue. Tony Stark kept nagging. He was angry for a long time because Xia Yu and Pepper were busy like a couple, but he was still trying to save face. Everyone who has seen the movie knows that Tony has had feelings for Pepper for a long time, but he didn't realize it. He was like a big boy and was easily jealous. Xia Yu smiled without saying anything. The power of hot pot was something that most people on Earth could not resist. As she watched Tony and Pepper each pick up a piece of meat and put it in the pot, Xia Yu reminded them, the meat is cut very thinly and will be cooked in about 10 seconds. It won't taste good if you cook it for too long. Wow! Wow! I mean it's not bad, better than I thought. Tony Stark said. Xia Yu ignored him and turned to ask Pepper, what do you think, Miss Potts? Boz's mouth was full and he had no time to speak. He just kept nodding his head, his eyes smiling into crescent shapes. Although Tony Stark spoke well, his hand movements betrayed him. He was not skilled enough in using chopsticks, and he had already started to eat with a barbecue tongs. The three of them drank several dozen beers that night, mainly Xia Yu and Tony Stark. Tony Stark was naughty and started to force Xia Yu to drink when they had almost finished eating. With Xia Yu's current physique, she could hardly get drunk even without the Nine Yang magic skill. In the end, Tony Stark definitely drank too much, but he refused to admit defeat and kept shouting that he would have a whiskey fight with Xia Yu tomorrow. After a night of noise, their relationship became closer. They called each other Xia, Pepper, and Tony. There was no conversation all night, except Xia Yu who was amazed at the high-tech in Tony's house. The wall of the bathroom could be turned into a screen at any time. One could look up information or watch a movie by just saying a word to Jarvis. Damn capitalists! Xia Yu complained in his heart. Originally, with his own property and the mountain of cash in his space ring, seized from preventing gangster transactions, he thought he could have no concept of money. But after seeing Tony's life, he had the idea of making more money for the first time. The next morning, Xia Yu woke up at 7 o'clock. Tony Stark gave him access to the laboratory. The key point was that there was nothing shameful here recently. Tony was mainly making an engine to assemble a classic car. What he saw in the movie was far less shocking than what he saw with his own eyes. The laboratory was originally a garage, which was estimated to be over 1,000 square meters. There were more than a dozen cars and a few motorcycles in it. These cars were nothing to Tony Stark. Then there were various screens and operating tables, and even a high-precision lathe. There was also a small bar underneath, a bar counter, a refrigerator, various wines and drinks, and a fitness area with various fitness equipment. Obviously, Tony basically stayed here except for sleeping. Tony, I have to say that for a genius scientist like you who spends all day in the laboratory, living in such a scenic beach villa is absolutely a shameless waste. Xia Yu said sarcastically. Tony Stark laughed and said, seeing you looking depressed so early in the morning is definitely the happiest thing for me today. Come on, Xia, let me see your genius medical skills. The system task requires using medical skills and the 9 Yang magical art to treat Tony Stark. Xia Yu thought that since it was such a requirement, he might as well go big and directly perform marrow cleansing and meridian opening on him to open up most of his meridians first. You don't have to do anything. Just sit down and turn your back to me. I will first get a comprehensive understanding of your physical condition and then take care of your body as a whole. It may be a little painful for a while, you have to bear with it. Xia Yu said. As long as it gets better, the pain doesn't matter, come on. Tony said confidently. Jarvis, when Pepper brings breakfast down later, tell her not to disturb us for now. Xia Yu instructed Jarvis again before sitting down cross-legged, with his hands on Tony's back. What is this, yoga? I thought they were going to stick needles in my back. What is this? Why do I feel a warm current flowing around in my body? What did you do? As Xia Yu slowly transferred his internal energy over, Tony began to scream. Shut up, Tony. I have to control the energy in my body to clean up and repair your body. If you don't want the energy to get out of control and explode in your body, then shut up. Xia Yu said unhappily. Tony Stark had to suppress his curiosity and silently feel the feeling of the internal force flowing through his body. She did not treat Tony Xia Yu as gently as she treated Natasha Romanoff. Natasha Romanoff slowly helped her nourish and clear the blockage, but she treated Tony Xia Yu directly with the greatest force without hurting his body. It's like stretching the 2 big tendons in our legs when we exercise. It's a different feeling to press them slowly every day and then have others pull them apart for you. Soon Tony let out a miserable cry. If he hadn't been firmly absorbed by Xia Yu's internal force and unable to move, he would have rolled on the ground in pain. Xia Yu's internal force pushed violently through Tony's meridians. As long as it didn't shatter, Xia Yu didn't care even if there were some cracks. The 9 Yang divine art could repair them. Unable to bear Tony's constant yelling, Xia Yu used her mind to stun him, and patiently opened up Tony's meridians one by one, and controlled the 9 Yang magic art to move around, playing a role of solidification and clearing again. Finally, Xia Yu simply used her inner strength to hold Tony up and float him in the air. Xia Yu began to circle around Tony's body, constantly slapping Tony with his palms one after another, trying to shatter some stubborn toxins and impurities in Tony's bone marrow and flesh. As Xia Yu's hands moved faster and faster, his hands left visible after images. After striking out over 200 times in a short time, Xia Yu turned around and came back behind Tony, yelling go, and slapped Tony's spine hard with both hands at the same time. At this moment, all the pores on Tony's body spurted out black blood at the same time, and the farthest part even sprayed more than 10 or 20 meters away. The author has something to say. There are 2 more chapters in the afternoon and evening. Chapter 15. Pepper Potts, who happened to come down and witness the last scene, let out a shocking scream and ran straight towards Tony Stark regardless of Jarvis's obstruction. Tony Stark's appearance at this time was even worse than Xia Yu's when he had loaded the Yi Jinjing. His whole body was covered in black, with blood and toxins. Some of them were discharged at the beginning, and some were discharged at the last moment, so some had stuck to his clothes, and were also all over his hair and beard. Oh my god, Tony, what did you do to him? Pepper saw Tony was a little out of his mind and yelled at Xia Yu. Calm down, Pepper, calm down, Tony is fine, he just looks a little embarrassed. I'll wake him up and you can ask him yourself. Xia Yu quickly reached out and woke Tony up. Oh my god, Tony, are you okay? Are you feeling unwell? Pepper hugged Tony and started asking about his condition as soon as he opened his eyes. Oh, damn, what happened? What's all this on me? I'm fine, honey, don't cry, I'm fine. Tony was a little panicked when he saw Pepper crying. I just helped Tony clean the inside of his body so that you can understand more easily. Some dirt will come out through the pores. I suggest you two take a shower first, and then we can figure out what happened while we have breakfast together. To be honest, it's not romantic at all for you two to hug each other like this. Pepper, can't you smell the smell on Tony? Doesn't he smell like a sewer pipe that has just been removed? Xia Yu said with a smile. Pepper finally reacted, smelled the smell, looked at the smell on her body and screamed, "Ah!" and ran away. Tony also frowned and said, "Xia, I'll settle the score with you later." Then he hurried away. As the richest man in the United States and even the world's richest man, Tony Stark's bedroom naturally has a large bathroom. He just took a shower for half an hour to clean all the stains on his body, especially on his hair. At this moment, he was soaking naked in a file-sized round bathtub of 4 or 5 square meters. "Jarvis, play the footage from the lab," Tony Stark said to the air. "Yes, sir." As Jarvis answered, a completely transparent screen rose up at the end of the bathtub, showing the scene of Xia Yu washing Tony's marrow and meridians in the laboratory. "Wow! This is so cool, what is this? Some kind of super ability?" As the scenes played, especially the last scene where Xia Yu used his inner force to lift Tony up, Tony shouted exaggeratedly. "Check my physical condition," Tony Stark said again. As soon as he finished speaking, a curtain of light slid across the entire bathtub from front to back, including the area under the water. After a brief pause, Jarvis's humane voice sounded again, "Sir, the scan results show that your body strength has not changed, but the condition of all your organs and muscles is very perfect. What I mean is that your body is very clean now, just like a newborn baby." Tony Stark definitely understood what this sentence meant. As people are born and grow up, their bodies will gradually oxidize. Breathing air and eating various foods will also produce various impurities in various organs and even blood vessels and bone marrow. Jarvis said that his body was as clean as a newborn baby, which was too exaggerated. "One more thing, sir, your current metabolic rate is about the average for 16 or 17-year-olds, Jarvis added. Tony ignored Jarvis's words and asked again, "Have you detected Xia's physical condition?" "Sir, the laboratory doesn't have special testing equipment. I can only detect that when Mr. Xia was treating you, there was a very dense energy activity in his body. It is not any kind of energy known now," Jarvis said. "This situation is different from what Pepper described." Tony Stark muttered to himself. Tony Stark certainly trusted Pepper unconditionally, but for a person with superpowers or super abilities, when he treated himself for the first time, he didn't have any intention of hiding his abilities. What exactly did he want to do? Xia Yu, who has the system, has a plus 30 bonus to favor ability towards plot characters. This is not a percentage, it is just plus 30. Perhaps even Xia Yu herself has not discovered the amazingness of this function. Well, the full favor ability is 100. It is unlikely that such a favor ability will appear between two humans, because 100 means that you like everything about him, which is unlikely for human individuals with relatively independent personalities. Generally speaking, the favor ability between couples in love is between 70 to 85, and this becomes more and more difficult as time goes by, because there are always things about others that you don't like or agree with. For example, two strangers who have never met each other will have a 10-point favor ability when they smile at each other, and may have 30 points of goodwill when they have a meal or a drink together. However, after eating together for a month and playing together every day, the favor ability may not reach 50. So this standard becomes more and more difficult as time goes by. However, the bonus given to Xia Yu by the system is independent. For example, when Xia Yu met Natasha Romanoff, the system gave her 30 points of favor ability when they met. However, if Xia Yu had a meal with her and had a very happy chat, it would still be directly plus 30. For an ordinary person, 30 points of favor ability is normal for a friend to meet at a party, but Xia Yu has an extra 30 points of favor ability from the system, which can reach 60 points at once, which is amazing. To put it bluntly, some couples whose relationship is not very good only have a favor ability of 60. So Xia Yu and Tony Stark had a meal and drank wine together, and their favor ability was already very high. So even though Tony Stark felt something was wrong, he did not suspect Xia Yu of any bad intentions. First, it was the trust that favor ability brought him, and second, looking at the footage played by Jarvis, if Xia Yu wanted to hurt him with her ability, she would not have waited until now. As for whether she had any purpose in approaching him, first, it was affected by favorability, and second, Tony could not think of it for the time being. If it was because of money, sorry, Tony Stark really didn't care. If having money allowed one to be willful, Tony Stark could be willful to the point of being annoying. In fact, he did that before becoming Iron Man. Based on the above reasons, Tony Stark played the footage of the two of them in the laboratory in front of Xia Yu while they were having breakfast. Pepper also exclaimed after watching it. When she entered the laboratory, her mind was full of the image of Tony with blood gushing out of his body. She completely ignored the fact that Tony was floating in the air. It might also be because there were too many tables in the laboratory blocking Tony's legs, so she didn't see it clearly enough. What is this? Super ability? Or superpower? Tony asked straight to the point. Xia Yu was not surprised. Having seen the movie, he definitely knew Jarvis's ability, not to mention that Tony had specially introduced it to him yesterday. It was precisely because of this that Tony felt that Xia Yu did not dodge, and it would be better for him to get straight to the point. This is a Chinese martial art, Kung Fu. Do you know this word? It cultivates a kind of energy in the body. Xia Yu said. I definitely know Kung Fu, Bruce Lee. I even learned Wing Chun for a while, but it doesn't seem so magical. I think it's just a kind of fighting technique. Tony Stark said. Bruce Lee appeared on a t-shirt of Iron Man in Avengers, Age of Ultron. Wing Chun refers to the fact that the actor of Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., has learned Wing Chun in real life. Let's put it in. That's just the elementary level, where you practice moves and learn muscle strength techniques. The more advanced level is to absorb energy from food and air, transform the body, strengthen the body, store energy and use energy in different ways. You can think of it as magic, but the expression is different, so you can understand it better this way. Tony nodded and said, that's a very detailed description. I completely understand what you mean. But why do you show this ability that is not easily seen by the world without any scruples in front of me? Although we chatted very speculatively, I admit that I have a different kind of liking for you, definitely not that kind. Don't get me wrong, I still like beautiful women. What I want to say is that although we get along very well, it still cannot change the fact that this is our first meeting. It seems that you should not show your ability in front of me. As far as I know, you did not use your so-called martial arts when you treated Pepper or others. The author has something to say. There will be another chapter at 11 o'clock. Chapter 16. In fact, it also works when I treat others, but I mostly use silver needles, so no one notices. The reason why it's so obvious this time is, first, because of your time. I have to do this to achieve the effect quickly. Second, as you said, we get along well. It's true for you and Pepper. Although you acted very annoying when we met, I both had an inexplicable sense of trust when I first met you. I don't know if you two have it, but I do. Xia Yu's answer was very clever. He knew about the system's favorability bonus, so Tony and Pepper nodded in empathy. Seeing them agree, Xia Yu took a sip of coffee and continued, this is called fate in Chinese. Chinese people believe in this very much. The most important point is that this world does not allow me to use my power casually, and I hope to continue studying martial arts, including my own body and the energy in my body. However, I don't have any testing equipment or technology until I saw you. And we have such a strong fate, so I just showed it to you directly. Tony Stark and Pepper looked at each other and nodded. They basically believed this answer. Pepper asked in confusion, Xia, why didn't you just say it when you first met? Xia Yu laughed and pointed at Tony and said, ask this guy if I tell him directly if he will think I'm crazy. If I show this ability right when we meet, he might call the police. At the very least, he will forbid you to seek treatment from me in the future. Tony Stark thought about it, smiled, and said, you know what? I just like your annoying look. It always reminds me of my childhood. Pepper interrupted at the right time, Tony, you too now. The breakfast ended in laughter and joy. Everyone reached a preliminary level of trust. Tony Stark was a man who could not sit still. After the meal, he pulled Xia Yu to demonstrate so that he could see what equipment and instruments were needed. He could not wait to study this field that he had never touched before. Xia Yu did not dare to demonstrate her full strength, but simply showed the various applications of internal force in front of the two of them, such as palm power with internal force, extending the internal force to objects to increase the hardness of objects, such as using light skills to briefly hover in the air and flight. When Xia Yu was slowly falling in the air as if there was no gravity, Tony and Pepper applauded enthusiastically, and Tony Stark even picked up a bag of snacks and ate while observing. This made Xia Yu very depressed, and he felt like an acrobat. After taking a quick look, Tony quickly called to order various materials and equipment for the renovation of his own laboratory. At noon, Xia Yu showed off her cooking skills again, making a soup and frying a few Chinese home-cooked dishes. This home-cooked meal made Tony say that he must hire a Chinese chef to be his chef in the future. In order to fully test Xia Yu's ability, Tony ordered a lot of high-end materials. Many of them would take several days or even a week to deliver. This week, Xia Yu bought a lot of medicinal herbs and made a lot of medicinal meals to gradually strengthen Tony Stark and Pepper's physiques. Every day, he treated Tony's illnesses that he couldn't tell Pepper about. These days, Tony showed considerable interest in the Chinese martial arts that Xia Yu demonstrated, but he was so proud that he didn't say it out loud. When Xia Yu saw this, he simply made it clear and taught him directly. To be honest, even if Xia Yu had his marrow cleansed and his meridians cut, he wouldn't have achieved much if he practiced martial arts at this age. Tony didn't have the system as a cheat, so he just wanted to strengthen his body. Xia Yu thought about it for a long time and thought about what to teach him. As a result, the system gave him a simplified version of the Yi Jin Jing. The difference from the original version was that it only had 6 patterns, and it was simplified. It felt a bit like Hua Tuo's 5 animal exercises, but the effect was better. It cost Xia Yu 800 points. Tony, I know you are very interested in my martial arts. To be honest, I don't mind teaching you, but China has its own rules. This kind of thing generally cannot be passed on to outsiders, and I must abide by this rule, so I have thought about it for several days and came up with a solution. You join our sect, then you won't be restricted. This was Xia Yu's casual remark. First, it seemed mysterious, and second, it added a connection point between the two sides, making them a little closer. I know this. I've seen some movies, but are there any restrictions? You know my identity. I can't just join some organizations casually. Tony Stark said. He is the best weapons expert in the world and the apple of the eye of the US government, so he can't do anything wrong. Xia Yu smiled mysteriously. You don't need to worry about this. A long time ago, we were the largest sect in China, but now only my grandfather and I are left. Now my grandfather has passed away, which means I am the only one left. There are no restrictions, just an initiation ceremony and an oath. Tony became interested after hearing this and immediately said, that's no problem. What's the name of our sect? Sun. Moon. God. Religion. Xia Yu said word by word in Chinese. Xia Yu was in a playful mood, and Tony, who was eager to learn martial arts, was also very interested. He even drove Xia Yu to Chinatown and bought a lot of incense tables and offerings. Back at Tony's villa, Xia Yu set up the incense table, lit the candles, and even found a piece of wood and carved it into a tablet with Mr. Jin's name engraved on it. She placed some fruits on the table and asked Tony to burn incense and kowtow. After 3 kneelings and 9 kowtows, Xia Yu whispered to Tony, pleasant goat, beautiful goat, lazy goat. Those who sang out loud will be praised. After reciting the theme song of Pleasant Goat and Big Big Wolf, Xia Yu shouted, the ceremony is over. Then he pulled Tony up and said with tears in his eyes, from now on, we're brothers from the same section. It was just a joke, but Xia Yu said it with some real emotion. He must be lonely and helpless, with a girlfriend who is a super spy and elusive. To be honest, eating and chatting with Tony and Pepper every day these days, he feels like home. Xiao Leijiao was watching with great interest and thought that Hua Xia's ceremony was very fresh and interesting, but when she heard Xia Yu say that, Xiao Leijiao stepped forward, gently hugged Xia Yu and said, Xia, we are your family. Tony was not jealous this time. Xia Yu was a dozen years younger than Xiao Leijiao and Tony. In fact, he treated Xia Yu as his younger brother. But Tony was not very good at expressing his feelings. He just stepped forward and said, Xia, if you hold my secretary again, I will not pay your medical expenses. Xia Yu laughed loudly and hugged Tony, patted Tony on the back, and then said, there is only one step left. Everyone who enters our sect has his or her own title. Our titles are written by the previous sect masters. Just follow the order. It doesn't matter whether you use it or not. But I want to tell you that my title is Ximenchuixu. You are lucky. Your title is the most domineering one. It is called, Dong. Fang. Buletin. Bye. The author has something to say. If you have any opinions, please tell me in the comments. I will try my best to satisfy you. Chapter 17. This treadmill can provide a maximum running speed of 800 km per hour. It will automatically adjust as you accelerate or decelerate, and there is no noise at all. It is no exaggeration to say that if you give me enough materials, I can make a high-speed train run in place on the treadmill. With the help of Dongfang Bubai, oh no, it is Tony Stark's powerful hands-on ability, a bunch of materials that Xia Yu could not understand were quickly installed into a 10-meter-long treadmill. Tony has been practicing the simplified version of Yi Jinjing with Xia Yu these days, and has been provoked and disliked by Xia Yu in various ways. Now that he has finally reached the field he is good at, Tony must brag about himself. Why does it have to be so long? Xia Yu asked curiously. This is to give you some room for sudden acceleration, idiot, Tony said without even looking up. He was busy assembling a strength testing machine. Top speed, 231 km per hour, 0 to 100 km per hour acceleration 0.7 seconds standing jump height, 21.3 meters, tested outside the house, right fist strength, 3.12 tons left fist strength, 3.07 tons except for speed, all other data are without the blessing of internal force. Xia Yu, who has practiced the first 3 levels of Dragon Elephant Prajna Sutra, can fight head-on with genetically strengthened heroes such as Captain America and Winter Soldier even without using internal force. Unfortunately, Tony's equipment could only detect the huge amount of energy in Xia Yu's body, but it could not detect the trajectory and intensity of the internal force. In Jarvis' words, "Sir, I can't detect where the meridians and acupuncture points you mentioned are. Are there such organs in the human body?" After initially checking the data, Tony asked Xia Yu with great interest when he could reach his level. Xia Yu smiled bitterly and told him that his inner strength was given to him by his grandfather before he died. It was physical strength and that technique had to be practiced from a young age. He would talk about it when Tony had mastered the 6 diagrams. Tony, devastated, quickly went to the laboratory. He didn't believe that he couldn't detect the acupuncture points and meridians of the human body. He firmly believed that science could provide the ultimate explanation. He felt that as long as he found out the secrets of the meridians and acupuncture points, he would be able to quickly master the secret of how the human body absorbs and stores energy. Xia Yu could only respond with a wry smile, just like the greatest doctor in the world who could not understand even the simplest theory of foot massage in Chinese culture. Martial arts to a certain extent needed some idealistic things to support them. For example, Xia Yu had tried to teach Tony and Pepper the most basic meditation and qigong exercises, such as sinking qi into the danshan and imagining a stream of qi flowing through the body, but they simply couldn't do it. Let Tony Stark practice the simplified version of Yi Jinjing with peace of mind. The system is specially designed for it. For the next period of time, Xia Yu focused on helping Tony recover and strengthen his masculinity. In fact, Tony would have no problem practicing Yi Jinjing. The key is that he is obsessed with his date with the twins in December, and he doesn't have a cheating device like Xia Yu, so he has to trouble Xia Yu to use his internal force to warm him up and go into the water every day. That's right, this is Xia Yu's inner thought, go into the water. Xia Yu, who nurtured Tony in the water every day, finally received a prompt from the system and happily earned 10,000 points. Xia Yu wanted to buy the 4th level of Dragon Elephant Prajna Sutra, but sadly found that she could only buy all 3 levels at the same time. She had to wait for the system to issue another task. After being told that his treatment had been completed, Tony cheered and shouted that he wanted to have a party, so he maliciously arranged a business trip for Pepper through the company. Although they are not officially together yet, under the influence of Xia Yu's butterfly, the two have begun to be ambiguous. Tony is a little afraid to let Pepper clean up his mess after sleeping with a girl like before. Tony was supposed to be on the business trip, but Xia Yu shamelessly lied to Xiao Lajiao, saying that Tony was at a critical moment. After deceiving Xiao Lajiao, Tony claimed that he would let Xia Yu experience a luxurious yacht party. Xia Yu scoffed at this and asked, "Haven't you seen a movie?" In her previous life, Xia Yu watched countless bad movies on the internet. There are 3 elements of bad movies: yachts, beauties, and big MM. She is almost sick of watching them. You are so tacky. What's the fun in sailing out to the sea with a bunch of bikini beauties lying next to you sunbathing? Xia Yu said to Tony with disdain. It turns out that Xia Yu slapped himself in the face harder than Tony ate hot pot. Is this a yacht? This is a villa on the sea. Xia Yu said as she stood on the shore of a yacht club in Los Angeles and looked at the 120-meter-long behemoth on the sea. Tony laughed and put his arm around Xia Yu before getting on the yacht. What does poverty limit imagination mean? The entire yacht has 3 floors, 2 more floors in the cabin, 5 suites, and 10 standard rooms with double beds. The luxury is beyond Xia Yu's imagination. There are 3 swimming pools. Damn, this is a yacht, not a cruise ship. There is a dance floor, a cinema, a gym, a restaurant, a medical room, and 5 reception rooms. Tony Stark made Xia Yu instantly understand the mood of Lu Lao when she visited the Grand View Garden. Tony took Xia Yu for a full tour with a smug look on his face, and then brought her to the top deck. He poured a glass of red wine and handed it to Xia Yu, saying, "My friend, the most important part is not here yet. Let's start the boat after the girls arrive." Xia Yu looked at Tony and said seriously, "Tony, now I know why so many people hate you. I really want to slap you to death right now." Tony laughed out loud. He liked to see Xia Yu frustrated. He provoked Xia Yu again. "I customized this yacht from Germany. It cost me $800 million. Actually, my idea was to build a small island on the sea, but it takes too long and I can't wait. I want to beat you to death now. You make me feel so poor." Xia Yu said as he looked at the more than $100 million in his space ring. "I took some time to count them some time ago." Tony Stark was going to make Xia Yu's jaw drop completely today. He looked at the shore and said to Xia Yu, "Stand up, man, and welcome the girls." Xia Yu stood up and looked at the shore, and the wine glass in his hand almost hit his foot. "I saw 3 buses slowly stopping next to the yacht." Yes, they were those tourist buses. The doors opened and beautiful women of various skin colors neatly dressed in bikinis got off the buses. Yes, Tony Stark, the damn capitalist, used so many beautiful women, and 3 of them at a time. After all the beauties got on the yacht, the crew came out one after another to prepare food and drinks. A DJ booth was placed at the front of the deck where the 2 of them were. Tony invited the best DJ in the entire western United States. It was getting dark. After the boat slowly moved out for more than 10 minutes, a large number of fireworks were launched from the stern. The boat was filled with the cheers of beautiful women. Tony picked up the microphone on the DJ stand and announced loudly, "The party is about to begin. Have fun, girls." The DJ started playing music at the right time, and the whole yacht was immersed in a sea of joy. The author has something to say. There is a bug. It should be December now. Los Angeles is not too cold, but the bikini is a bit too much. But I won't change it. The boundless spring scenery is more important. Today is the first chapter. Chapter 18. The party officially began. Tony began to smile mischievously. He pulled Xia Yu to the DJ booth and stood on the highest deck of the yacht, signaling the DJ to turn off the music. Tony picked up the microphone and said loudly, "Let me introduce to you all the protagonists tonight, a handsome young man from eastern China, Xia. He is young and promising, and he is also my best friend. As the protagonist of today, he is going to sing a song for you to thank you girls for coming. Girls, cheer up. Tony, UBD." Xia Yu turned and said to Tony Stark who was about to run away. "Don't be shy, you are the protagonist tonight, my friend." Tony said with a hearty laugh and ran downstairs. He was going to meet the lovely girls. Xia Yu was forced to do something he was not prepared for. Fortunately, a lot of things had happened to her since she traveled through time, and she had killed more than 100 people with her own hands. Her state of mind was completely different from when she first arrived. Otherwise, with more than 100 pairs of eyes staring at her now, Xia Yu might not even be able to speak loudly, let alone sing. Xia Yu had to sing, and while quickly searching for the right song in her mind, she began to speak, "Hello, girls. As we all know, Tony Stark is a jerk. He is arrogant, sharp-tongued, and insolent. But a lot of money makes this hateful jerk look so cute. Today I want to thank this cute jerk. He allowed me to see the best scenery in the world, a group of hot beauties in bikinis." Xia Yu paused and continued with a smile, "Definitely if you take off your bikinis, I believe the view will be better." The whole audience laughed. When the laughter stopped, Xia Yu suddenly raised her voice and shouted, "The next song is dedicated to all the beauties in the audience. Please stick out your chest and shake it to my rhythm. There's a fire starting in my heart reaching a fever pitch and it's bringing me out the dark finally, I can see you crystal clear. Go ahead and sell me out and I'll lay your ship bare. See how I'll leave with every piece of you. Don't underestimate the things that I will do. As Xia Yu's song rolling in the deep sounded, the whole audience reached a climax. Tony Stark looked at Xia Yu singing loudly from below and cursed in a low voice, "Damn it, I wanted to see him make a fool of himself, but I didn't expect this guy to be so talented. I'm really starting to envy you, Xia." Xia Yu's song brought the party to a climax, and then he was completely immersed in the ocean of beauties of all shapes and sizes, with different skin colors, all types and all kinds of provocative looks. The yacht was too big and there were too many beauties. That night, Tony and Xia Yu never met again, and each of them was immersed in a sea surrounded by beauties. The next morning, Xia Yu was awakened by the ringing of a phone. He was lying in the suite on the yacht. There were at least 7 or 8 naked beauties lying on the 4-meter-wide super-large bed. Xia Yu quietly picked up an arm and thigh that belonged to someone he didn't know. "This sentence is a bit scary, isn't it?" Picked up his phone and ran into the bathroom. "As soon as I picked up the phone, I heard Tony's voice, 'Xia, you conquered several people. Yesterday was so wonderful. I feel like I can stay awake all day and all night. Ha 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 ha. Damn it, Tony, last night was the craziest day of my life. I was a pure boy. If my grandfather knew that I made friends with someone like you, he would crawl out of the grave and kill me." Xia Yu said to Tony. "I find that you are becoming more and more shameless, Xia, come to the restaurant for breakfast." Tony said and hung up the phone. Xia Yu walked along and found that the boat was clean and tidy. Even the group of girls from yesterday were nowhere to be seen. After asking Tony, she learned that except for the 2 of them who were brought back to the room, someone took everyone away by boat at night and someone was sent back. She once again lamented the high cost of Tony's party. Xia Yu buried her head in eating. She was really hungry. She had consumed a lot yesterday. Pepper was away on a business trip for 5 days, so the party lasted for 3 consecutive days. At noon, several ships brought in many beauties. It was not as exaggerated as yesterday, but it was estimated that there were at least 30 or 40 of them, including the December cover girl of Maxim magazine, the twins. Tony, who was eager to complete the goal of killing 12 people, dragged the twins into the room in broad daylight and came out at night. As soon as he came out, he dragged Xia Yu to a small living room. Tony took out a cigar from a small incubator next to it and handed it to Xia Yu and said, "Have you ever thought about doing something? I know you don't like being a health doctor in Chinatown all the time. Do you have any plans for the future?" "I don't know. Actually, I was looking for something to do in New York. I really don't know what to do. What my grandfather left behind is enough for me to have enough food and clothing." At this point, Yu looked up at Tony and said, "What I mean by having enough food and clothing is definitely not based on your standards as ABD." Tony laughed and motioned Xia Yu to continue. Xia Yu took a puff of the cigar, slowly turned it in his mouth, and slowly blew out a few smoke rings before continuing to talk to Tony. "You suddenly asked me that, do you have any ideas? Pepper told me that she first went to your place because of a friend's introduction. Her friend only went to your place to see your grandfather a few times, and then relied on the medicine your grandfather gave her to maintain a good figure and tender skin. Do you know what this means? This is the best weight loss and beauty medicine in the world. Women all over the world will be crazy about it." Tony was absolutely serious when he talked about business. Xia Yu has seen the movie and has lived with Tony for more than a month. He knows this person very well. He is obsessed with the laboratory in his daily life and basically doesn't care about the company's affairs. He doesn't have much concept of money. It is definitely mainly because he is rich. That is to say, he is very satisfied with his current material conditions. He has no motivation to continue making money. He provides some technology to his Stark Industries, which has a constant flow of dollars. He has no ambition for money, so the effort to set up another company is mostly for Xia Yu's consideration, so Xia Yu is still quite touched. After thinking for a while, Xia Yu said, "You mean you want me to sell the formula? I don't really like meaningless socializing and entertaining, Tony. No, my friend, I just need you to give me the formula. I will set up a separate company to produce the finished medicine. I will find a dedicated person to manage it. The company will reserve an office for you. You can go there if you want to, or forget it if you don't want to. You will own 70% of the shares. How about it?" Tony said. Xia Yu had no way of refusing this favor. He also needed to make more money to achieve a small goal in his heart, and this goal required a lot of financial support, so Xia Yu nodded and agreed without hesitation, but changed the split to 50-50. With Tony's insistence, the two of them finally took a step back and it became 60% for Xia Yu. Neither of them wanted more, and the two of them had what could be described as the most friendly business negotiation atmosphere in history. After finishing the business, Tony's face turned sly. He took out a light screen keyboard from the table and clicked a few times. The ceiling above the two of them slowly faded and finally became transparent. Above was the largest swimming pool on the deck. The lights at the bottom of the swimming pool allowed the two brothers below to directly see the top of the swimming pool. Tony put his arm around Xia Yu's shoulders and said, "There's no change when you look down from the swimming pool. Isn't it wonderful? I've only let 2 people into this reception room, and you're one of them. No one knows. This is the best view on my boat, ha 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 ha." Tony began to point at the beauties swimming in the pool and began to comment, "Look at this thigh, it's so perfect, I'm going to touch her tonight, look at this chest, look at this, haha. This swimming trunks is actually faded, haha." Xia Yu glanced at Tony who was laughing wildly and said calmly, "Tony, it seems like she is peeing in your swimming pool. Son of ABCH. Tony cursed as he stood up. Chapter 2. There will be 1 chapter each in the afternoon and evening. Chapter 19. As Pepper returned from her business trip, Tony began to arrange for Pepper to be in charge of the establishment of the new company. Pepper was worthy of being the future head of Stark Industries. She chose the address, decorated it, and recruited people. The 3 of them thought about the name of the company for a long time, but in the end they couldn't think of it. Pepper made the decision directly. Since it was Xia Yu's formula made with herbs, let's call it herbal medicine. Herbal medicine, Tony Stark's rich nature came into play, and he bought a 20-story office building in the name of the new company. This means that before production even started, Xia Yu had already earned half of the building. Xia Yu no longer cared about this. He wanted to pay, but what could he do if he couldn't afford it? He simply accepted it. The development of the medicine was also in full swing. Under Tony's powerful black technology, the entire production line was fully automated. Only someone was needed to sort the medicinal materials when they entered the warehouse. Time flies when they are busy. Although Xia Yu is a hands-off boss, Xiao Leijiao comes to report the progress to them every day and occasionally takes Xia Yu to check on the progress, which makes Xia Yu feel fully involved. For more than a month, Xia Yu helped Tony practice martial arts in the morning, assisted Tony in the laboratory during the day, or assisted Tony in his martial arts research as a research subject. After more than a month of hard work, the company was finally ready to open. Tony said that the new company's products were the best Valentine's Day gifts for women, so the opening date was set on February 14th. The products had been on the shelves earlier, but they were set to officially move into the office on this day, and the 2 bosses, Tony and Xia Yu, were invited to the company to show up and meet all the employees. In fact, Xia Yu had met all the main managers. Today was a small lunch meeting for Tony and Xia Yu to show up in front of all the employees. The employees had known for a long time that Tony Stark was one of the bosses, but many people met Xia Yu for the first time today. They were very surprised when they learned that Xia Yu was the largest shareholder. Such a young Oriental man could actually do business in partnership with Tony Stark, and he was even the largest shareholder. Without paying attention to what they were whispering about, after a few simple words, Pepper thoughtfully prepared Valentine's Day gifts for each employee, and then the 3 of them left. After going downstairs, Tony and Pepper mysteriously pulled Xia Yu to the back of the building. "What are you 2 doing?" Xia Yu thought of a matchmaker because of their mysterious behavior. "Are they going to introduce me to someone? I already have a goddess." Xia Yu thought. The company's building has 20 floors, which is not a big deal in Los Angeles, but it is more than enough for their company. The bottom 16 floors are all rented out, and the top 4 floors are used by themselves. At this time, many companies that have rented floors have started to move things in, so there are many truck workers busy at the back door. Xia Yu and Xia Yu came to a corner of the back door of the building. Little Pepper smiled and said to Xia Yu, "This is the Valentine's Day gift Tony prepared for you. I'm just here to help. Now I'll take you to see it." As she spoke, she took out an access card and swiped it on the wall. At this time, Xia Yu noticed that there was another door in the corner of the building. "Is this the fire emergency exit?" Xia Yu asked puzzledly. Neither of them spoke, they just opened the door and pulled Xia Yu in. They entered an elevator room of more than 10 square meters with only one elevator. Xia Yu followed in curiously and found that there was no button on the elevator. Xiao Jiao took out the access card again and swiped it on the right side of the elevator, and the elevator began to rise. "What the hell are you doing?" Xia Yu asked loudly. "Don't talk. You're already in the elevator, why are you in such a hurry? You are the big boss now, you need to learn to be calm, my friend." Tony shook his head and educated Xia Yu. Xia Yu rolled her eyes and ignored him. Soon the elevator arrived. When she opened the elevator, she saw a living room. Facing the back of the sofa and the TV, there was a small Chinese-style mahogany partition behind the sofa, with space left on both sides as walkways. On the right was a floor-to-ceiling glass window, and right on the left was another floor-to-ceiling glass window. Looking outside, there was a large swimming pool, and opposite was a wall covered with green plants. There were 2 walls on both sides of the wall, and looking up, there was the sky. "Is this the top floor?" Xia Yu said, and then quickly ran to the French window on the right to look outside. It was indeed the top floor. Walking into the living room, there was a Chinese tea table next to the French window on the right in the living room. There were also many tea cans on the table. Xia Yu could tell at a glance that there were 7 or 8 types of tea. Further ahead were the toilet and bedroom, which also had a bathroom and a cloakroom. In the cloakroom were several suits and casual wear, shoes, belts, ties, and even a few valuable watches and sunglasses. When Xia Yu came out of the bedroom, he discovered that there was a small attic opposite where he had come out of the elevator, with an open kitchen and dining room on top. After Xia Yu walked around and came to the living room, Pepper said, "Happy Valentine's Day. Do you like this gift? Tony has planned it since he bought the building. He built you an apartment on the roof. It's definitely a Tony Stark-style gift." Before Xia Yu could speak, Tony said, "Actually, I'm mainly afraid that this kid will stay in my house and won't leave." Xia Yu's eyes turned red, and she said calmly, "Tony Stark, I would love you more if you didn't have such a foul mouth. I don't need you to love me. Come here and let me introduce you to the coolest thing about this house, the home control system designed by Tony Stark himself." Tony knocked on the coffee table twice as he spoke, and an operating interface appeared on the glass surface. "Every table in this house can be used as a computer, including the leisure table by the swimming pool outside. I installed a smart housekeeper system for you. It's definitely not as high level as Jarvis, but it's convenient for you to input various voice commands. You can control all the electrical appliances in the house. Remember, everything, including the water change and water temperature of the swimming pool outside. The sewer pipe of the swimming pool is as thick as 50 centimeters. I installed a filtration system in the pipe. After the water goes down, other dirt such as human hair will be filtered and then automatically flushed into the sewage system of the building through other pipes. So if you want, you can go to the swimming pool in the morning and change the water." Tony explained the various functions of this house to Xia Yu in detail. After that Tony stood up and said, "Well, Pepper and I have to go to Stark Industries for a meeting this afternoon, and then we're going to have dinner together tonight, so you should have some fun today." Xia Yu was very happy for them after hearing this and said, "You too, when did this happen?" Chili said with a smile, "Today is just a first date." "Congratulations." Xia Yu smiled and hugged Xiao Jiao. After seeing them off, Xia Yu sat on the sofa and looked at her new house. Compared to New York's Chinatown, this place felt more like home. Although it was the same as her home in her original world, it was not a place after all. It was arranged by the system. Here, she felt like she had her own house. "It's Valentine's Day." Xia Yu tried to call Natasha Romanoff, but the call was not connected. She had been with Tony Little Pepper every day for the past 2 months, and suddenly they were separated. Xia Yu didn't know what to do. At this time, her cell phone suddenly rang. It was a text message. From Tony Stark. "Xia, as a friend I really can't bear to see you alone in an empty room on Valentine's Day night, especially in such a beautiful house. Some beautiful stories should happen on the first night. I left a car key on the sofa and will go to a nightclub to pick up a hot girl. Definitely 2 people are no problem. The bed in the bedroom is quite big. I wish you a happy Valentine's Day. Friendly reminder, I left 15 different brands of safety products in the bedside table for you. They are all the smallest sizes and should fit your size. You're welcome." "Damn Tony Stark." Xia Yu cursed with a smile on his face. The author has something to say. Chapter 3, there's more to come in the evening. Chapter 21. Damn it, Tony, it's 4 in the morning, what do you want to do? Xia Yu roared into the phone. I just conquered a female reporter. When she interviewed me yesterday, she actually said that I was a warmonger. Then I had a full-scale war with her, and it was obvious that she was defeated. Tony's energetic voice came from the other end of the phone. So you disturbed my sweet dream just to show off your sexual ability? You're a complete BD, Tony. Xia Yu's voice became louder, causing Natasha Romanoff, who was woken up by the phone call, to cover her mouth and laugh. Damn it, I'm your business partner, and I designed the most dazzling house for you in Los Angeles, and what about you? Xia, 10 days ago you ran to my house and threw hundreds of millions of dollars in cash on my floor, $102,350,000 to be exact, and asked me to deposit it in the bank for you, and then ran back to New York without a word. And what about me? I'm cleaning up your mess, and if I didn't have that little bit of property and fame, they would think I was a drug dealer or a money launderer. Do you know how much effort I put in to turn your cash into those cute numbers in your bank card? In comparison, I just called you in the middle of the night, you're the BD, Xia. Tony began a series of complaints. It's 4 in the morning, not midnight, Xia Yu corrected. It's late at night here, thank you. There is a 3-hour time difference between Los Angeles and New York, you should learn to respect me more. There is a saying in China, respect the old, love the young. You should respect me, my dear Xia. Tony said vaguely, and from the sound of it, he seemed to be drinking water or alcohol. Okay, you win, buddy. Wait a minute. Xia Yu woke up completely. She stood up to get a cigarette and kissed Natasha Romanoff, who had her eyes wide open. She lit a cigarette, took a deep puff, and exhaled heavily before speaking into the phone. Tell me, why are you looking for me at this time? Is there something wrong with your body? That's impossible. I'm in better health than you think. I've seen a piece of land in Los Angeles that I'd like to use to grow herbs and provide it to our own company. Land is important, but it's not my specialty. I need you to come and see if it's suitable for growing herbs. As long as there's no problem with the land, we'll buy it. Don't worry about the weather or temperature. I can handle it. Tony said. No problem, I'll go there tomorrow. Xia Yu thought about it and asked, why don't you come to me tomorrow morning? Because I just remembered, and I can't sleep. Be in Los Angeles before 3 p.m. tomorrow, and Pepper will look for you. Tony hung up the phone. This BD. Xia Yu cursed and threw the phone aside. I do hear a hint of flirting in this. I'm almost jealous of Tony Stark. Natasha Romanoff joked. I'm going to prove to you how much my sexual orientation has not changed. Xia Yu lifted the quilt and crawled in. Natasha Romanoff giggled. At 4 o'clock in New York, some people were playing basketball, and some were enjoying the springtime scene. The next morning, Xia Yu left on an early flight. Natasha Romanoff did not go with her because her vacation was almost over and she needed to stay in New York for the time being. In her words, a general in the government was doing human modification experiments and was causing a lot of trouble, so they were keeping a close eye on him. Xia Yu knew that the plot of the Invincible Hulk had begun, but S.H.I.E.L.D. was only playing the role of an observer in this incident, so she felt relieved, but still told Natasha Romanoff to be careful. After getting off the plane, Pepper was already waiting. Xia Yu was very curious because she had planned to contact Pepper after getting off the plane. Pepper smiled and told Xia Yu that she had just sent Tony off and the time was not much later, so she was waiting at the airport. Although Tony Stark is not responsible for the specific affairs of Stark Industries, as the largest shareholder and CEO of Stark Industries, he still has a lot of schedules. Some time ago, it was because of unspeakable physical reasons that he stayed at home with Xia Yu for so long. So when Xia Yu heard that Stark was out, she didn't think much about it. Following Xiao Lajiao, Xia Yu went to a farm outside Los Angeles. The land was very good. Xia Yu thought it was okay and asked the company to send someone to discuss the price. After a busy afternoon, Xiao Lajiao strongly recommended that they go to a Mexican restaurant in Hollywood for dinner. Xia, do you know that your company's products are now mainly sold to Hollywood stars? Selling them not only has good advertising effects, but the prices can also be set very high, said Little Pepper. Really? Is the price set very high? The cost is average. Xia Yu said. Xia, you are definitely the boss in the world who cares least about your company. My god, you don't even know the price of your company's products. Little Lei Jiao exclaimed. Xia Yu scratched his head embarrassedly and said, I will learn more slowly, you know? Tony, that BD, called me at 4 in the morning and told me what happened today. He definitely did it on purpose. Little Pepper covered her mouth and laughed, saying, you can call him now. He should have just arrived. It's early morning there. You should call him to get revenge. Oh. Xia Yu became interested and asked while taking out her phone, where did he go? There's such a long time difference. He went to Afghanistan to sell missiles to the local US troops, said Pepper. Xia Yu stopped taking out his phone. Afghanistan, Afghanistan. So the plot has already begun. Tony Stark will be confined in a cave for 3 whole months. It is also during these 3 months that he will break out of his cocoon and become the Iron Man who can rival gods with his mortal body. There is an idiom that goes, care too much and you will be confused. Although Xia Yu knew that Tony should be fine, she was still very worried about what would happen if the butterfly herself appeared and changed something. You see, didn't Tony and Pepper start their affair much earlier than in the movie? Xia, are you okay? Xiao Leijiao's call brought Xia Yu back to his senses. It's okay, I just thought about some things in the past. This burrito is good. Xia Yu said absent-mindedly. During the meal, Xia Yu looked dazed. Pepper thought she was thinking of something sad, so she sent Xia Yu back early after the meal. Xia Yu returned home, looking at the house Tony designed for him, and recalled the time he spent with Tony. He and Pepper spent more than a month in Tony's villa, and it really felt like a family. He had been in this world for just over half a year, and he had become close friends with Iron Man, and was in love with Black Widow. 2 people died in the 4 Avengers alliances. Damn, he really knew how to choose. Let's see how you save them when the time comes, Xia Yu laughed at himself. Xia Yu just sat at home in a daze, thinking about random things until late at night. Suddenly the phone rang. It was Natasha Romanoff. Xia, something happened to Tony Stark. Natasha Romanoff said. What happened? Although Xia Yu knew it, her tone was still very excited. He was attacked by a missile in Afghanistan. There were only dead bodies of soldiers at the scene, but there was his blood. He was definitely not dead at the time, but I don't know what his situation is now. Natasha Romanoff is worthy of being from S.H.I.E.L.D., and she provided first-hand information. Are they terrorists? Xia Yu asked. The situation over there is very chaotic. It's hard to tell which force it is, but don't worry, his identity is very special. Almost all intelligence agencies have been dispatched now, and I believe there will be results soon. Natasha Romanoff said. I know. Tell me any news as soon as you get it. And be careful over there. Xia Yu hung up the phone after talking to Natasha Romanoff and fell into deep thought. The author has something to say, Chapter 1. Chapter 22. System Tasks. After Tony Stark builds the Mark I armor, help him escape. Mission Reward, 30,000 points, 30,000 points will be deducted if failed. If the points are insufficient, the points will be negative, and the principal will be paid 50% interest per year. Tony Stark could have escaped on his own, so why did he issue such a mission and the points were so high? What changes did I bring to the plot? Tmul, tell me. Xia Yu said to the system. Master may not understand what I mean. You have not brought any changes to the plot for the time being. Even if you do not accept the mission now, Tony Stark will still escape along the established route. But if you accept the mission, the plot will change and the difficulty will increase, so you will be given points as a reward. Tmul explained. Xia Yu understood what he heard, so it would be fine if she didn't move. She said to Tmul, then I won't accept it. I can earn points later. From now on, all system tasks will be closely related to the plot. That is to say, only by accepting the tasks can the master improve his strength as the plot develops. Only with sufficient strength can the master participate in the ultimate battle and save those who are doomed to die in the ultimate battle. Tian Mao's voice was still the same as the electronic synthesis, but these words made Xia Yu shudder. Everything is arranged, forcing me to change the ending, right? Give me an explanation, why? Xia Yu was a little angry. Master, please rest assured. The system exists to assist you. Some things cannot be explained now. After the Civil War, everything will be clear. Master, Please actively complete the tasks and increase your strength. Tmul said. Xia Yu stopped talking. No matter what the system was like, at least one thing was correct. It was right to improve one's strength first. It was just like playing a game. One had to complete the main task to upgrade first. Then the next step is to research the trip to Afghanistan. At least first you need to know where the place is. Xia Yu recalled the movie he watched in his previous life. There were several key pieces of information in the movie about the cave where Tony Stark was imprisoned, Gumara, 10 rings, abandoned Soviet factory, and desert. Putting these clues together makes the matter much simpler. Since Tony is definitely fine, he has time to realize his original plan and take advantage of the 2 sharp drops in Stark Industries stock to buy at the bottom. 10 days later, Xia Yu, who had arranged everything, set foot in the Gumara region of Afghanistan. Many place names in the Marvel movie universe are fictional, such as Gumara and Sokovia. Xia Yu had never been to Afghanistan in her previous life. She only heard that it was very chaotic, but when she really came to this place, she found that it was more than just chaotic, especially the Gumara region. Except for a few small towns, other places were basically occupied by the 10 rings, and it was said that all the men were conscripted. After several days of investigation, Xia Yu chose a small town called Mino because there was a tavern in this town. Afghanistan here is similar to his previous life in that it is an Islamic country, so it is difficult to find a tavern, especially in small places. Even if there are non-Muslims, in this country where there are constant wars and ordinary people cannot afford to eat, few people have the spare money to go to the tavern. So Xia Yu went in to try it out, and actually found a 10 rings tattoo on the boss neck, and he could speak English. This was very important, as Xia Yu needed an interpreter. So Xia Yu used the life and death talisman to control him without any further ado, and discovered that this was a stronghold of 10 rings. Several nearby towns were areas secretly controlled by 10 rings, and everything here was a resource controlled by 10 rings. This tavern basically serves the members of the nearby 10 rings base, so after staying in this tavern for more than 10 days, Xia Yu knew Tony Stark's current situation and specific location. The next step was to wait for Iron Man to break out of his cocoon. There are hidden storylines about 10 rings in Marvel movies. For example, in Iron Man 3, the disguised Mandarin was killed by the real 10 rings after being imprisoned. For example, in Ant-Man, there were people from 10 rings among the people who went to PIM Technologies to buy battlesuits. So in the Marvel world, 10 rings should be very powerful. In the following time, Xia Yu successively controlled more than a dozen 10 rings members who came to the tavern to drink, 4 of whom were in the camp where Tony Stark was imprisoned, but unfortunately, very little information was obtained from them, and they were all just low-level warriors, and did not bring any useful information to Xia Yu. Xia Yu knew what Tony Stark's situation was without asking, and what he needed most now was to contact Tony Stark and unify a date. Finally, 2 months after Tony disappeared, Xia Yu controlled a small leader who could even directly contact Tony Stark. The cave where the 10 rings imprisoned Tony Stark. Today is the 79th day that Tony Stark has been imprisoned. The terrorists have lost their patience many times. Tony Stark knows that he can't delay any longer and must hurry up to make the armor to have a chance to leave. A terrorist with dyed yellow hair came over that day. Tony Stark had seen him before. He was standing next to the bald leader and should be a leader. The terrorist came in and went straight to Ethan. Tony went to stop him but was knocked to the ground. The yellow-haired man pressed Ethan on the table, pulled out a pistol and pointed it at Ethan's head, and asked Tony Stark loudly, "Tell me, how much time do you need?" 15 days, it will take at least 15 days. The equipment here is too simple. Tony said. The terrorist used his gun to slam Ethan's head against the table and said, "I'll give you a week at most." After saying that, he let go of Ethan, picked up the structural diagram on the table, and waved his hand to signal Tony Stark to explain to him. Then he pulled out a drawing and asked Tony what part of the missile it was. When Tony got completely close, he said quietly and quickly, "Mr. Xia asked me to say hello to you." Tony was a little bit incredulous, but he didn't deny it directly. He just looked at the terrorist in confusion. When Tony Stark didn't say anything, the terrorist spoke again, $100 million on the ground, and you are an impotent old pervert. Tony Stark was ecstatic, but he suppressed his excitement and asked in a low voice, "Why don't you notify the US military to rescue me?" The terrorist honestly conveyed Xia Yu's words, "Your itinerary is top secret." He doesn't trust the government or your company. Mr. Xia is in a nearby town. He said he would arrange a time with you and I can help you. Tony Stark thought for a moment and said, 1 week. What kind of help can you provide me in 1 week? I need to meet with Mr. Xia first. I can't stay too long. I will come to you in 3 days and we will talk in detail then. The terrorist said and hurried away. Tony Stark said to Ethan, this is more certain. Come on, we need to speed up the progress. Time is running out. Soon, the yellow-haired classmate from 10 Rings met Xia Yu. I need you to take me in on the day of the operation, and it would be best if I could get close to your leader, Xia Yu said. Impossible. I'm not the closest person to him. It's very difficult to bring you into the camp, sir. Your face is too easy to recognize. Hey. Xia Yu's face changed. Huang Mao, who had experienced the feeling of being unable to survive with the life and death talisman, saw Xia Yu's face change, and he suddenly became alert. He suppressed his fear and said, Mr. Xia, you have to give me a way to live. If I die anyway, I might as well commit suicide. Besides, if I take you in directly, you will definitely be exposed, which will increase the difficulty for you to save people. Xia Yu was amused. He was a clever boy. It would be a good idea to keep him as a nail in 10 rings. Actually, Xia Yu had a rough plan in mind, but he had to make sure how far Tony had progressed. Normally, the people guarding Tony's cave are the bald leader's trusted subordinates. There is no way to solve this problem for the time being, so Xia Yu asked the yellow-haired man to bring only one question to Tony, which is whether he can ensure his own safety in the cave, or guard the door to prevent others from coming in. Xia Yu already knew the answer to the question. Tony just had to fight his way out according to his plan. In the next few days, Xia Yu would summon the 10 rings under his control. It would be best if they brought a few more people over. After they had the enemy under control, they could directly attack the camp and help Tony hold back a large number of enemies. He would then observe the battlefield himself and prevent any unknown unexpected factors. The author has something to say. I am not satisfied with this chapter. This kind of plot always makes me feel awkward and unnatural. I will try to improve it in the future. Chapter 23. The agreed day finally arrived. Xia Yu had already led people to make preparations not far away, and Tony was also anxiously waiting for time in the cave. I have to say that the plot has huge amounts of inertia. The bald leader of 10 Rings felt that something was wrong, so he sent his men to check it out. Just like in the movie, Tony urgently activated the armor, and the terrorists who broke in were killed by the small bomb made by Tony, and then Ethan rushed out with a gun to delay time. Here, Xia Yu was leading 20 or so 10 Rings members under his control towards the camp. When they were almost there, they heard an explosion, followed by gunshots. Xia Yu had no choice but to take action himself. Xia Yu's original plan was to park the car 1 kilometer away, lead his men to attack the camp, and then Tony would take action. However, he had just parked the car and walked a few steps when he heard a fight over there. Xia Yu didn't care about shocking the world, and asked the yellow-haired man to drive the car over directly, while he rushed towards the 10 Rings camp with light steps. The 20 or so people left behind were stunned. What the hell? After he said something, a straight line suddenly appeared on the desert and disappeared with a whoosh. Only the yellow-haired man reacted quickly and drove towards the camp. When Xia Yu arrived, there were constant gunshots in the cave. Outside, a group of 10 Rings members were guarding the cave with guns in their hands. Xia Yu used the one-click change of clothes that he had not used for a long time, and changed into the black armor. He held the Yishan sword in his hand, but this time Xia Yu did not wear a mask. There were only 20 or 30 people outside, and they couldn't even last a minute in front of Xia Yu, who was holding the Yishan sword and performing Lingbo Weibu. Xia Yu killed all the people outside, collected most of the ammunition piled outside, and rushed into the cave in a hurry. Tony was squatting next to Ethan wearing Mark 1. It seemed that Ethan still couldn't escape death. Tony, go first. Xia Yu said as soon as she came in, fearing that something might happen. Xia, can you take him with you? Tony pointed at Ethan's body on the ground and said. No problem. It's inconvenient for you to walk in this. Don't move. I'll help you take it off first. Xia Yu said and used the Sword of Heavenly Sword to help Tony unfasten the armor with a few swipes. Many parts of Mark 1 were fixed with belts and the like, so it was easy to unfasten. Xia Yu held Ethan's body under his armpit with one hand, and grabbed Tony Stark's pulse point with the other hand, and a stream of 9 Yang Divine Arts true energy constantly flowed into it. When the two men came out, Huang Mao was leading 5 cars and heading over. The group of people had regarded Xia Yu as a devil because of the life and death talisman, and what Xia Yu did just now made them even more afraid of this devil. Xia Yu and Tony got in Huang Mao's car, and the group drove to the middle of the desert. It was still dangerous here. Xia Yu had a GPS and a satellite phone. Before he came to Afghanistan, Pepper gave him Colonel Rhodes's phone number. He planned to go far away and call him to pick him up. When getting on the car, Xia Yu found that there was a red dot on the small map. Xia Yu then remembered that the bald man should be lying next to him when he entered the cave. He was not dead in the original plot, and was later killed by Obadiah Stanislaus. Forget it, without that bald man, how could Obadiah Stanislaus become Ironmonger? Xia, thank you. Tony said. Let's not talk about this for now. Let's find a safe place to leave. You actually made such a piece of armor in the cave. You are amazing, Tony, even though the armor is ugly. Xia Yu said. Xia Yu had just passed some chi to Tony, and Tony felt much better. However, Ethan's death was a big blow to him, so he was in no mood to talk. After listening to Xia Yu's words, he opened his mouth, but finally couldn't help but said, "You are in the same situation." Xia Yu didn't want to argue with him at this moment, but seeing that he was listless and feeling uncomfortable, she tried to find something to talk to him about. Seeing him like this, Xia Yu didn't want to joke anymore. He took out a GPS and a satellite phone and said to Tony, "When I came here, Pepper told me that I could ask Colonel Rhodes for help if I had any problem. I know he's a good friend of yours. I trust him but not the American troops here. But now that we're safe, I think it's okay for him to pick us up. You can make the call." Xia Yu was still feeling uneasy at this moment because the system did not prompt him that he had completed the task. As expected, the 2 parallel cars in front were pierced by a huge electric current that appeared out of nowhere. The 2 cars pierced by the electric current were directly blown into fireballs. The people on them would definitely not survive. The 3 cars behind also braked and stopped. Everyone, including Xia Yu, stared at the 2 piles of waste burning in front of them in amazement. Where did the lightning come from in this desert? Then, a man in a black robe slowly landed in front of the 3 cars. Only a pair of hands were exposed. Xia Yu had sharp eyes and saw that each finger of the hands had a ring. "Mandarin, this is not the fake one in Iron Man 3, this is the real big boss behind 10 rings." Xia Yu now understands why it takes 30,000 points to complete the task. "Tony, call Rhodes immediately, don't stop the car. Huang Mao, I'll go out later and you drive immediately. Remember, if Tony dies, you won't survive either." Xia Yu said in a low voice. "What are you doing? Let's go." Tony said. "Tony, if I can't win, we'll all die if we stay. If you leave, I still have a chance to escape even if I can't win. Don't be so fussy." Xia Yu said seriously. Before Tony could say anything, Mandarin had already landed slowly, took a look at the car that Xia Tian and the others were driving, and said, "Tony Stark stays, the others die." As soon as the word die came out of his mouth, he waved his right hand, and the ring with a yellow gem on his right ring finger flashed. A beam of light swept across, and the other 2 cars were directly cut open, cutting everyone in the cars in half. As soon as the attack was made over there, Xia Yu patted the yellow-haired man's shoulder and shouted, "Go!" Then he jumped up and came directly in front of Mandarin, and slashed upwards from left to right at Mandarin's head with the Yishan sword in his hand. Xia Yu's speed was extremely fast. At this time, Mandarin's right hand had just cut the second car. Mandarin's reaction was worthy of a hidden big boss. When Xia Yu just got in front of him and hadn't drawn his sword yet, he subconsciously stomped his right foot on the ground and floated backwards. A light flashed from his left index finger, and a ball of fire exploded out of nowhere in front of Xia Yu's left. It wasn't just a ball of fire that appeared, but a ball of fire that exploded, blocking Xia Yu's sword. He also used the impact force to retreat a little further. It took a long time to talk about the confrontation between the 2 men. From the time Xia Yu asked them to hurry up to now, the yellow-haired man had just turned the steering wheel and the front of the car had just moved halfway. Half of the impact of this explosion was directed at Xia Yu's upper body. Xia Yu used the impact to do a backflip, and her feet were firmly placed on the back of Tony's car. Her feet were wrapped in internal force and combined with the powerful explosive power of her body, which gave the car a physical acceleration in an instant. Then she rushed towards Mandarin at a faster speed than when she came back. Mandarin watched Tony Stark run away and roared, "You're looking for death. This time it was the little finger of his left hand, and Xia Yu saw it clearly. A beam of white light shot towards Xia Yu. Xia Yu had no way to avoid it in the air and could only raise the sword of heavenly sword to block it. A chill air climbed up Xia Yu's arm along the sword of heavenly sword. Before it could pass over his forearm, the 9 yang qi in Xia Yu's acupuncture points gushed out and forcibly melted the cold air. The 9 yang magic kung fu was not afraid of cold or heat and was the nemesis of all cold energies in the world. Unfortunately, there were too many mandarin rings. The ring on the middle finger of her right hand flashed, and a whirlwind more than 2 meters wide appeared in front of Xia Yu out of thin air. The strong wind brought up tearing air sounds like a ghost. The extremely concentrated wind was like a substance, and even a few grains of sand on the ground were not carried away. The advantage of loading martial arts into the system is that once loaded, each one is engraved in Xia Yu's bones like a natural instinct. In this case, Xia Yu naturally used the most advantageous cracking method. The Yishan sword in his right hand suddenly made a buzzing sound. It was Xia Yu's internal force that caused the Yishan sword to vibrate at a high frequency, and then Xia Yu stretched his right hand forward. The trembling Yishan sword followed the wind and broke into the whirlwind, drawing a horizontal U-shaped trajectory and interrupting the whirlwind alive. Tugu 9 Swords Breaking Chi Style. The author has something to say. There is one more chapter in the evening. Chapter 24. Kid, who are you? Mandarin said hatefully as he saw Tony Stark walking away. Ximen chugs you. Xia Yu said. Only a fool would say his real name. Who knows if he has any curse abilities? Mandarin didn't care whether it was true or not, and then asked, what is your relationship with Tony Stark? Why are you protecting him so much? Mandarin was also helpless. The influence of 10 rings spread all over the world, and there were countless people, both open and secret. He was just passing by here, and he saw that his subordinates were killed and thrown into chaos. He wanted to chase after them to see who did it, but he unexpectedly found Tony Stark. In the movie, Leo Badistani only commissioned the bald man from 10 rings to assassinate someone, but when he did it, he found that Tony was not dead, and then he knew it was Tony Stark, so he became greedy and wanted to use him to produce weapons for himself. Mandarin might not know that Tony Stark was in the hands of his subordinates. I originally thought that a few ordinary people could handle it easily, but this kid suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Mandarin was not afraid of Xia Yu, but there were many restrictions on the use of his rings. He was also injured recently and could not use several rings. In terms of pure martial arts, he was really no match for Xia Yu. So he decided to have a little chat first, see what path he could take, and casually wait for the cooldown of a few ring skills. Xia Yu definitely wanted to cooperate. As long as the system indicated that the mission was completed, that is, Tony was safe, he could leave. He just wanted it. So Xia Yu casually stuck the sword into the ground and said, it doesn't matter. I just took the money and did the job. I accepted $10 million and promised to rescue this person. Mandarin was delighted when he heard that he was hired, and immediately said, I'll give you $30 million if you help me catch him back. No, that won't work. I promised to save them. That won't work, unless you give me 100 million, I promise not to stop you. My master told me that if you take money, you have to do things for them, unless they offer more than 10 times the price. Xia Yu said with a proud and affectionate look. Mandarin thought, why are you so proud of this scumbag who can sell out his employer for money? But this kid has a master behind him, and he's the hidden big shot, so I'd better not fight him if I can. Okay, 100 million is 100 million, just let me go. Mandarin made up his mind and was quite happy. Who knew Xia Yu would pick up the sword in a flash, point it at Mandarin and say, stop talking nonsense, pay first. Okay, tell me your account number and I'll give you the money. Mandarin was very satisfied. 100 million in exchange for Tony Stark was totally worth it. Xia Yu reached behind him and actually took out a notebook and a pen from his space ring. He quickly filled in an anonymous account of a Swiss bank. He asked Natasha Romanoff to help him open this account before coming to Afghanistan. His own $100 million was also in it, which he asked Natasha Romanoff to help buy Stark Industries stocks. Mandarin's eyes widened, thinking, why didn't I see any pockets on your armor? Xia Yu didn't care what he was thinking, tore off a piece of paper and gave it to him, saying, hurry up and transfer the money, I won't care if you run away later. After saying that, he took the remaining notebook and pen in one hand and stuffed them back, and they were gone again. Mandarin, who was taking out his cell phone to call someone to transfer money, was stunned again. Mandarin's men were very quick. In less than 2 minutes, Mandarin hung up the phone and said, "I've paid you. I can come over now." Who knew Xia Yu would draw his sword with a swish sound, and Mandarin said angrily, "Boy, what do you mean? Don't think I can't deal with you." Xia Yu answered even louder, "What do I mean? I asked you what you meant? You just made a random call with your phone. You said you gave it to me, so you gave it to me. Who knows if you were just acting for me? We are in the desert, where is the signal? You must be lying to me." Mandarin was almost laughing in anger. "Who am I to cheat people for money?" he said, "Can't you see I have a satellite phone? Why don't you call and check?" Xia Yu reached out and waved his hand behind him, and a Nokia phone appeared in his hand. Mandarin thought, "Hey, where did this phone come from?" There was no time to ask Xia Yu, because Xia Yu's Nokia was almost sticking on Mandarin's face. She opened her mouth and yelled at Mandarin's face, "Look, look, there is no signal. You must be lying to me, you old liar." Mandarin felt wronged. He reached out to wipe the mask on his face in the black robe. He always felt that Xia Yu had sprayed him in the face. He couldn't drag it on any longer. If he dragged it on, Stark would really not be able to find it. He said helplessly, "My satellite phone can be used. Can you use my phone to check it?" Xia Yu looked at Mandarin warily and said, "Don't lie to me, you are not going to sneak attack me, are you?" Hearing Xia Yu's words, Mandarin suddenly had an urge to pull his own hair, and shouted loudly, "I was going to attack you when you gave me your account just now, why wait until now? When you gave me your account, why weren't you afraid that I would attack you? Boy, are you going to check it or not? If not, I will risk everything to keep you here today." Xia Yu smiled in his heart, because the system prompted that Tony Stark was safe. He was very happy in his heart, but he muttered, "Just check it, why are you yelling? Give me the phone." After that, he walked towards Mandarin. The two of them were less than 6 or 7 steps away from each other. Xia Yu walked over with the Yishan sword, took 2 steps, stuffed the sword behind his butt, and when he reached out again, the sword was gone. Mandarin thought, "Shit, where did this go?" He reached out to take the phone from Mandarin's hand. Mandarin was waiting for Xia Yu to take the phone from his hand, still wondering where he had put the sword. Suddenly, Xia Yu's hand appeared with an M1346 barrel Gatling gun with a belt. Where did this come from? Mandarin was still wondering where the gun came from. He was really confused by Xia Yu's series of actions. To put it bluntly, his brain didn't think in this direction. It was obvious that Xia Yu would not give him a chance to figure it out, and neither would Gatling. Today. The powerful impact caused Mandarin to spit out a mouthful of blood. Mandarin, who was already injured, was further injured and was beaten back step by step. But that was all, because there was a red light in front of Mandarin that protected his body tightly. This time Xia Yu did not see that one of the 4 rectangular rubies on Mandarin's left index finger was broken. Under Xia Yu's powerful physical strength, the Gatling gun had no recoil, and every shot hit the red light in front of Mandarin. Mandarin knows martial arts, but he is definitely not as good as Xia Yu. What he is good at is spiritual power, because the ring relies on this to activate it. So at this moment, Mandarin is concentrating all his attention on resisting the violent impact of Gatling. A belt of bullets was quickly used up. Xia Yu had already seen the red light that protected the body. Tony was safe at this moment, so there was no reason to continue shooting. After finishing the belt of bullets, he picked up the Gatling gun and threw it at Mandarin. "Go!" After throwing it, he turned around and ran away without even looking. Mandarin's red light had just faded away, and with the sound of whistling wind, a Gatling gun fell from the sky and smashed Mandarin into the air, sending him flying more than 10 meters away. Mandarin was so angry that his head was about to explode. He had never suffered such a big loss before. Most importantly, he had never met such a person before. He could stuff anything into his pocket. He suddenly attacked him after they had agreed on the price. Most importantly, neither he nor he were ordinary people. Shouldn't they fight it out like a master? "I didn't want to fight because we had agreed on the price. You attacked me after we agreed on the price. It would be fine if you attacked me, but what if you used your sword to chop me? Why did you suddenly pull out a Gatling gun?" Mandarin was getting angrier and angrier as he thought about it. In the end, it was because he was a jerk. What was he talking about during a fight? If he didn't say anything, there wouldn't be so much to talk about. When he thought about it, he spat out another mouthful of blood. Poof! Ximenchuixu, I must kill you. AA. Mandarin lost his mind, and regardless of his own injuries, he activated the ring on his left thumb. Whoosh! Mandarin chased after Xia Yu with a shadow, and his speed was 3 points faster than Xia Yu, who escaped with Lingbo Weibu. The author has something to say. Da-da-da-da-da, I'll beat you to death, Mandarin must be deceived. Chapter 25. When Xia Yu just started, Tony started calling Rhodes, who was sitting in a helicopter looking for people all over the desert. After receiving Stark's call, a helicopter appeared above Tony's car in less than 10 minutes. Tony got on the helicopter and wanted to turn back to see how Xia Yu was doing. But thinking about what Xia Yu said to him, he could have run away, but if he went back he would become a burden. Thinking about the guy who intercepted them halfway, who could control lightning and lasers with a wave of his hand, he didn't know if Xia Yu was his opponent. This was all to save himself. Thinking about Xia Yu, who was still buying time for him, and Ethan, who had turned into a corpse, Tony Stark fell into deep self-blame. The news of Tony Stark's return soon spread back to the United States. The heads of several local American intelligence agencies quickly gathered at the U.S. military base. When Tony Stark insisted on finding Xia Yu before going back, several department heads and local military leaders showed a high level of cooperation that had never appeared before between several different departments, and forced Tony Stark to go back. Who dares to leave this old man here? If something happens, these people will have to eat sand here for the rest of their lives. Before sending Tony on the plane, several responsible persons strongly assured Tony that they would search for Tony's friend Xia Yu with the same intensity as they had searched for Tony before. Natasha Romanoff is still in New York. The battle between the Hulk and the Evil Dead almost destroyed half of Harlem. S.H.I.E.L.D. did not kindly clean up the mess for the U.S. military, but sent people to monitor Bruce Banner's whereabouts throughout the escape. Natasha Romanoff was idle for a while. When she heard the news that Tony Stark returned safely, Natasha Romanoff suddenly became very happy, because her big boy was coming back too. Natasha Romanoff was thinking about whether she should go to Los Angeles to meet him, so as to avoid following Tony Stark's party and eating secretly again. Natasha Romanoff's happiness did not last long, because Xia Yu's watch transmitted a location, and the automatic sending of the location by this watch could only represent one situation. That is, Xia Yu's life is in danger. Let's take a look at what happened between Xia Yu and Mandarin. Xia Yu's Gatling gun rattling behavior deeply angered Mandarin, so he forcibly activated the ring skill to chase Xia Yu. The two of them were running rapidly in the desert, one in front and the other behind, bringing up 2 long trails of yellow sand. Xia Yu was so angry. Running too fast was not a good thing. The visibility in the desert was far away. There was a sky full of yellow sand behind him, like Zhu Beiji coming. The target was too obvious. And how come the old man Mandarin was so fast? Damn, those 10 fingers were rings. These were skill bars. The skills were so comprehensive. Seeing that the Mandarin behind was getting closer and closer, Xia Yu flipped his hand and a box of grenades appeared. Yes, a box. He turned around to take a look at the distance between himself and the Mandarin, made a rough estimate in his mind, picked up one, pulled out the safety, counted a few numbers silently in his mind, and threw the box of grenades back with a flick of his hand. Mandarin was chasing with his head down, thinking about how to cut Xia Yu into pieces once he caught him. As the distance was getting closer and closer, Mandarin felt a little joy of revenge in his heart, and then he saw a black shadow flying towards him. What the hell was that? Boom, boom, boom. The grenade exploded directly in the air. Xia Yu threw out dozens of them, and they exploded in a chain in the air. Xia Yu did not throw them randomly, but controlled them with internal force. Not only in front of Mandarin, but also 7 or 8 grenades exploded on the left and right. Mandarin was caught off guard again. The man was thrown onto a sand dune not far away, and the ruby on the ring on his left index finger cracked again. Mandarin's face turned purple with anger. This thing can save his life and it cannot be restored. Every time he uses it, he has less. Over the years, he has used up all his skills and faced many dangerous situations, but he has never used this. Ah! Mandarin was so angry that he screamed to the sky, no matter what the cost. But at this moment, Xia Yu's voice suddenly rang in his ears. What are you yelling about in broad daylight? Did you rupture your hemorrhoids or did someone rupture your anus, you old man? Xia Yu cursed by using the voice transmission method. Mandarin suddenly calmed down after hearing it and thought, he can send the sound over an unknown distance. This is a special ability. And I don't know where he got so many things from. This kid must have some secrets. I'll find out the secrets when I catch him and then torture him. Mandarin was smart this time. He did not follow Xia Yu directly behind, but diagonally behind. From a distance, he saw the yellow sand behind as two parallel lines about 10 meters apart. As long as Mandarin got closer, he could activate the skill of the ring to keep Xia Yu. Xia Yu was also anxious. This old fox was chasing him about 10 meters to his left. He could dodge anything he threw at him. What should he do? Suddenly, Xia Yu's eyes lit up, and an abandoned village appeared in front of him. Xia Yu was happy. The desert was bare and there was nothing. As long as there were villages and buildings, he could fight guerrilla warfare. With so many munitions in his ring, no matter how many rings he had and how powerful they were, there were restrictions on their use, and he would be worn out to death. Xia Yu saw it, and Mandarin naturally saw it too, and a trace of anxiety appeared in his eyes. This kid has so many messy weapons and abilities that appear and disappear at random. It will be troublesome if he enters the village. If he is not careful, he will be killed here. Thinking of this, Mandarin's eyes showed a bit of fierceness, and he lowered his head to look at the ring on his right index finger. Seeing that Xia Yu was about to run into the village, perhaps the attack range of the ring on the index finger of his right hand was not enough, Mandarin first shot a white cold light at Xia Yu. This was the ability of the little finger of his left hand. Xia Yu had experienced it before. It could not hurt Xia Yu at all, but it could still slow down the speed. He tried to dodge it, but was caught up. Xia Yu had no choice but to fill his left hand with the inner strength of the Nine Yang Divine Art and block the white light without looking back. As soon as he started to move, his speed slowed down a little bit, and this little bit allowed Mandarin, who had been accumulating strength for a long time, to seize the opportunity, and the skill of his right thumb was finally activated. Xia Yu felt his hairs stand on end and a palpitation filled his entire perception. This was a person's instinctive reaction to deadly danger. Although he didn't see anything, his body still reacted instinctively. The internal force in all the acupuncture points in his body constantly flowed to the left half of his body. The Nine Yang Divine Art's ability to automatically protect the body through internal force has been brought to its extreme. Bang! With a loud bang, Xia Yu flew sideways for hundreds of meters and landed heavily on the hot sand. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out for 7 or 8 meters. Xia Yu's internal organs were all injured. The left half of his body was numb, and cracks seemed to appear on his arms and ribs. This is Mandarin's skill with the greatest frontal attack power, with the maximum power of up to 350 tons of shockwave, but Mandarin is unable to exert that much strength now, plus he didn't intend to kill Xia Yu with this move, nor did he use his full strength at this stage. In addition, Xia Yu's 9 Yang magic art characteristics, as well as his body blessed by the Dragon Elephant Prajna Sutra, and the foundation of the Yi Jin Jing, plus the flight of hundreds of meters in the desert offset a lot of the impact force. All these factors combined made Xia Yu take Mandarin's move. Was Xia Yu's injury serious? It was quite serious, but with the original strength of his body and the special properties of the 9 Yang Magic Healing Sutra, Xia Yu would be almost healed after lying down for a few hours. Mandarin didn't know so much, and was afraid that he would be too ruthless and kill Xia Yu. There were still many secrets on her that had not been uncovered, and the revenge of Gatling Dada had not been avenged. Yet. Chapter 26. After getting closer and making sure that the person was not dead, Mandarin wanted to ask Xia Yu something, but Xia Yu had left such a deep impression on him, so when he was about 10 meters away from Xia Yu, he did not dare to get closer, for fear that there would be another Gatling gun attack, which would be too sudden. Actually, Mandarin really wanted to kill Xia Yu. He hadn't vented his anger yet, but he really wanted to use all the methods that appeared on her body. Although the 10 rings were powerful, Mandarin also had many enemies in Asia, and the 10 rings were not invincible. So although Mandarin was angry, he was really envious of Xia Yu's various methods. This kid doesn't look like someone who is easy to deal with. He never tells the truth. Mandarin is conflicted. He should kill him, but he can't bear to do so. He should take him back and torture him. He really doesn't dare to get close to this kid. He just looks at Xia Yu in silence for a while. Xia Yu's injuries were getting better with every passing minute. Since Mandarin was not in a hurry, he was even less anxious. He just looked at Mandarin without saying anything. However, his body secretly increased its strength to circulate its internal energy to heal itself. Then a strange scene appeared. In a dilapidated abandoned village on the edge of the desert, a young man in black armor was lying on a small hill next to it. He was facing the village and his feet were on the sand dunes. From time to time, a small stream of blood spurted out of his mouth. Across from him stood a strange man covered in a black robe about 10 meters away. Neither of them spoke, they just stared at each other. Puff Xia Yu opened his mouth and spat out another mouthful of blood. Mandarin watched Xia Yu spit out 4 or 5 mouthfuls of blood and said, "You are seriously injured. If you don't want to die, answer my questions well. Not only will I not kill you, I will also find someone to heal you and spare your life." Mandarin didn't know that this was Xia Yu's way of repairing the blood clots in his internal organs. Although he had practiced some martial arts in a mysterious place, the so-called qi in the martial arts in the Marvel world was not the same as the internal force in Xia Yu's body. Mandarin would never have thought that Xia Yu was healing his wounds, and thought that he was seriously injured and would not live long. "What's your name?" Mandarin asked. "Nanggong Fiyun." Xia Yu opened his mouth and came. "Isn't it Ximen Chugs Yu?" Mandarin felt himself getting angry again. "Oh, I lied to you just now. Now you see my life is in your hands, so I will definitely tell you the truth," Xia Yu said very sincerely. Mandarin did not comment and asked again, "Let me ask you, where did the sword you just saw go? What happened to the Gatling gun that suddenly appeared in your hand?" "Actually, I have a big pocket behind my butt, and the sword is in the pocket. I also took out the Gatling gun from the pocket, but it was too fast and you didn't notice." Xia Yu lied. "You're talking nonsense. Do you think I'm blind? Where is the pocket behind your butt?" The Mandarin was going crazy. "Where is the pocket on the armor you're wearing? Where is the pocket? You still don't believe me after I tell you? If you don't believe me, come and see for yourself. I'm not lying to you." Xia Yu waved at Mandarin, "Come on, come on." Mandarin was so angry that he waved his hand and a flame exploded next to Xia Yu, and shouted, "Don't think I can't kill you. If you keep talking nonsense, believe it or not, I will chop you into pieces alive. I believe it, I believe it, I believe it. Don't fight for no reason. Don't you just want to know where I got all the things from? I'm telling you the truth, just watch." Xia Yu said as he stuck his right hand into the sand, took out a pack of cigarettes, took out a cigarette and lit it, then said, "Actually, I fished them all out of the sand. There's everything in the desert. Why don't you try it?" Xia Yu just took out a cigarette, and Mandarin's heart skipped a beat, fearing that he would pull out some weapon, so he didn't react until Xia Yu finished speaking. He suppressed his anger and said to Xia Yu in a deep voice, "Nanggong Fiyun, I'll give you one last chance. I don't have much patience. Do you see this ring on my right thumb? It has a small function that can emit toxins, making you want to live but not die. When the poison takes effect, it will itch unbearably, and your body will fester and ooze pus. Do you want to try it?" When Xia Yu heard that he was extremely itchy and his body was festering and oozing pus, a hint of surprise flashed across his eyes, and he said to Mandarin, "I'll tell you everything, will you really let me go?" Xia Yu was stalling for time to communicate with the system. "Then definitely, I'll do what I say," Mandarin said. "I have one small request," Xia Yu said. "Go ahead." Mandarin waved his hand to show that he didn't care. "Well, can you send me another 100 million? Ha 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 ha." Xia Yu couldn't help laughing after she said that. "How dare you play tricks on me?" Mandarin was so angry that he shot a poison ray directly at her. This was a small skill of his right thumb. Xia Yu was hit instantly and immediately began to tremble all over. He growled through gritted teeth, his face was distorted beyond recognition, and black liquid slowly flowed out of his body. This was actually quite different from Mandarin's previous performance when he used this skill. Others would suffer from skin festering directly. However, the doubt only lasted for a moment. On the one hand, Mandarin was too confident in his ring. On the other hand, Xia Yu's current condition was such that anyone could see that he was in extreme pain. The veins on his neck were about to burst. As for the fact that his skin did not fester directly, it might be due to physical reasons or the energy in his body. "Ah!" Xia Yu let out an unclear cry, with saliva hanging from the corners of his mouth. He was in real pain. He had completed the task and earned 30,000 points. He was loading the 456th level of the Dragon Elephant Prujna art. The information system had just received two very important messages. The first was that the 9-yang magic art's immunity to all poisons was also applicable here. The second was that loading the dragon elephant prujna art would strengthen the body and repair itself, and could heal injuries at the same time. Loading the dragon elephant prujna art was equivalent to crushing and reorganizing your muscles and bones many times in a short period of time. Xia Yu was really in pain. With such a drastic improvement in his body, impurities and blood would naturally flow out of his pores. Ah! Another heart-wrenching scream, blood flowed from Xia Yu's eyes. It was horrible to watch in broad daylight. He bit his teeth hard, trembling as if he had used up all his strength and said, "Kill me, I can't bear it, I'm telling you the truth." Xia Yu twitched again. Mandarin was anxious. He knew how much pain this toxin caused to people. Everyone who was infected wanted to die, so Xia Yu's reaction was expected. He quickly said, "Tell me what, tell me quickly, and I will end your pain after you finish speaking." Xia Yu took a lot of effort before opening his mouth and said, "Yes, it is this treasure, baby." As he spoke, an antique jade pendant appeared in Xia Yu's right hand. He gritted his teeth and raised it up tremblingly. Mandarin got the 10 rings by chance, so he was more likely to believe in such things than others. In addition, Xia Yu looked so weird now, so when Xia Yu took out the jade pendant, Mandarin could not take his eyes away. He firmly believed that this artifact must have more functions, which Xia Yu might not have developed all of them. This was his experience of using the rings for many years. His eyes followed the jade pendant in Xia Yu's right hand. He watched Xia Yu throw it with all her might, but it still landed a little in front of Mandarin. Mandarin quickly stepped forward and lowered his head to pick it up. A big box appeared in Xia Yu's right hand again, and he threw it towards Mandarin fiercely. At the same moment, a riot shield appeared out of thin air in Xia Yu's right hand again, and an AK appeared in his left hand. Xia Yu came to Afghanistan this time to transfer in China, mainly to buy some Chinese food and put it in the ring to use in Afghanistan. The jade pendant was bought at the airport in China. The riot shield was taken from the trunk of a drug dealer when doing a mission in New York. As for why the drug dealer has a riot shield, go and see Lucy, don't ask me. The box was loaded when Tony was rescued, and there are 3 small missiles in it. There is no need to explain the AK. Click to pause so that everyone can see more clearly. Xia Yu is sitting on the ground, with a blast shield in his right hand covering his whole body, and an AK in his left hand facing the opponent, with an abandoned village in the background. Yellow sand filled the sky, and the sun was blazing. Mandarin was just bending down to take the jade pendant in his hand with a smile on his lips. He heard tearing air sounds and looked up to see a dark shadow flying towards him with surprise in his eyes. But if he wasn't wearing a mask, we can see that the smile on his lips had not yet disappeared. Play, da-da-da-da-da-da. The author has something to say, da-da-da, it's embarrassing not to have blue light. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you're notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.